This is Dr. Neruzi. I personally guarantee your happiness with your implants. Go to implantsforme.com.
5:06 on AM 560 in our ChicagoRadioDeals.com traffic center. I know what Jim Talamonte is going to be doing tonight about 7 o'clock. His number 19 Butler Bulldogs will be taking on DePaul this evening. That should be a good contest. In the meantime, he's got his eyes peeled for you on the roads. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Mike. Absolutely. Also got the Bulls and the Bucks tonight. So might be doing some flipping during the commercials and see if Jimmy Butler can pop in another 42. Right now, things look great on the roads, like the Tri-State Tollway southbound at Cicero. We do have a crash. It's on the right shoulder, not affecting traffic in the main lanes. Traffic volume is still pretty light. There was an earlier crash on the inbound Rhine at Cermak, which had the express lanes blocked. That's all gone. The Rhine and the other Chicago expressways are clear. Traffic is a service of the Foundation for a Better Life. Deaf and blind, Helen Keller overcame her world of darkness. Foresight, pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer is next, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the aircomfort.com Weather Center, aircomfort.com, your commercial HVAC solution provider. Let's get the latest this morning with meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Today, a full day of sunshine, high 31. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 23. Tomorrow, some sun will give way to clouds with a high 36, and cloudy at night, low 31. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
18 at O'Hare, 22 along the lakefront. Next news, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts now on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a family tradition since 1897.
Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Call it the sprint to the starting line. After all those months of rising and falling fortunes, we're now just 28 days from the first nominating contest of the 2016 race for president.
Below freezing on the road in Iowa, Ted Cruz plays a hot hand in the lead, but not a lock.
It's still between you and Trump.
Today, kicking off trips to 28 counties in 6 days.
How the hell can she do that when she's got one of the great women abusers of all time sitting at her house?
I've adopted a New Year's resolution. I'm going to let him live in his alternative reality, and I'm not going to respond.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. And Amy, I was up late last night, as I know Mike Scott was, because he, like me, recognizes that college basketball is the greatest game on earth. Did you happen to catch it? And I know you're a basketball coach of some sort.
We have our first of some sort. We have our first girls game, 5th and 6th grade girls basketball game today at 4:30 at Alcott. Admission is free if you guys would like to come. You can set up your own chair and sit in it.
Have they been using the Pete Maravich homework basketball tapes that I gave you?
We are going to get to those. That's my son's game was yesterday. These are the girls' team. I have not played the tapes for the girls' team yet.
You don't get to the fundamentals. You start with them.
We've been doing the fundamentals. Seriously, we've been going over the fundamentals.
I may show up at 4:30 and relieve you of your post and take over coaching that team if I don't like the way they're playing.
Okay.
If I don't see team basketball out there, how many passes?
Well, 3 passes before you shoot.
4 passes.
No, we're doing 3. We got it. These girls have never played organized sports. A lot of them haven't, and they've never played basketball before.
Have they seen the movie Hoosiers?
Yes, that was required watching over Christmas break.
That's
and one of my girls is about 4'1". She's the shortest player on the team, and I'm keep encouraging her, use your legs to shoot the ball. But at the free throw line, she can't do it, so she's doing the Rick Barry under the through the leg, and she's a
Grandma
genius.
style.
She does it really well. She
Rom
nails
style.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did the 9 out of 10 she made. So we're going to stick with that if she gets fouled, which I think she will.
And Peyton and Eli are working on homework basketball.
Yeah, I had to yank Eli from the game yesterday. He mouthed off to the ref during the Blaine Bell game, and I stood up and said, "Coach, get him out of there right now." And then after the game, I made him apologize to the ref.
Did he get teed up?
No, he didn't get a technical, but he should have to teach him a lesson. He's a real mouthy. My older one's fine. If he fouls, he accepts it. But my younger one, he's so agitated and angry and just, there's a lot of aggression there.
I got teed up in a grade school basketball game.
For doing what? What did you do?
I had a sweatband on.
Oh, God.
And
of course you did with your mullet that was permed. Oh.
Yeah, I was like Salami from White Shadow. And I had, and Mike Scott likes that reference.
Yeah.
That's a good, that's a quality reference. Especially
Ken Howard is one of my favorite actors of all time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Somebody appreciates White Shadow.
Absolutely.
You don't get a lot of White Shadow references out there on those radio airwaves.
2 days in a row.
How about that?
You're hot.
But
so
yes.
you had your sweat wristband on.
He called ref called fifth foul on me, and and I was an all-star caliber player.
That's right. You could dunk, right?
Not in grade
from
school.
the top of the key, you launched off there. And
Yes, right. That was the human highlight film in 8th grade. But after he called the fifth foul and I was fouled out of the game, I took my wristband off my wrist and I threw it down, and he teed me up.
Good. Well, I taught you a lesson. You
and
never
my
did
life
that
has
again.
spiraled out of control from that moment. So that's a warning to your irascible young man.
Oh.
Yeah.
You watched one of his games.
Yeah.
And he had a bad attitude, and I made him write you a letter.
Yeah, no,
apologizing.
It was very nice. I
thought after that he would improve, but no, he still, throws his arms. What do you mean, ref? I didn't foul him.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get mouthy like that. You accept the punishment because you did foul him, son. Sorry.
Or you throw a chair.
Well, or that.
One of the two. There's really no in between. But last night, so I'm glad I'm glad they're on homework basketball.
Yes.
Everybody should be on that, especially at a young age, learn the fundamentals. Especially because you're Peyton and Eli are going to be like 6'8".
Yeah, they're on track to be pretty tall.
They're our meal ticket.
Oh, now they're our. Now you're inviting them into the family.
Program meal ticket.
You could be their agent.
Exactly. One of us has a law degree.
Okay.
One of us can do contract review.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So it's a team effort, just like basketball. Kansas, Oklahoma, 3 overtimes. Number one versus number two. The greatest, one of the greatest regular season games you're ever going to see. As good a basketball as you're going to see in the regular season. You saw it, Mike Scott.
It was amazing at the end when the crowd gave the player from Oklahoma, visiting player from Oklahoma, an ovation for how well he played.
Oh, Buddy Hield. I mean, this guy is sick.
Amazing.
What's his name?
Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield.
Okay.
He had 46, I think, last night.
Oh my God.
Oh,
It's Jordan-esque, as you say.
He is a great player. That was just a joy to watch. I wish the game didn't end. I wanted to still be going in.
Did you get any sleep last night?
It ended about 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
that's
it's not
early.
too bad.
That's early for you.
Not too bad. So all right. So Stripling, let's cut this segment and send it to ESPN for my audition for the Sports Center anchor gig. All right. So now
basketball is life, they say. Because everything you learn in life, you learn during basketball practice.
I've heard that. Yes. Right.
For sure.
Yeah, you go through life out of breath, just like in basketball practice. All right. On to matters that are allegedly within our core competency, matters of politics. Bruce Rauner, the governor, speaking of game strategy, really putting the squeeze on Tiny Dancer.
Yeah, he gave him a verbal slap yesterday. It was actually the first time that the media asked him about this recall bill, and I don't know what to think with this answer.
I am very disappointed in the mayor and in the state's attorney for Cook County. Very disappointed.
Yeah.
He didn't detail his disappointment. He didn't say why he's disappointed. Was it the police brutality?
No.
What exactly was it?
Well, he said a couple things. I mean, one, he's obviously referring to the cover-up and with respect to Laquan McDonald and how they've handled a number of these matters, including another case that came to light yesterday, a new trial. The Darius Pinnex, who was killed by Chicago police in 2011. Yesterday, a federal judge ordered a new trial in her wrongful death lawsuit over the case after finding misconduct on behalf of city attorneys. And the city attorney in question, who didn't turn over evidence that should have been turned over in discovery to the Pinnex attorney, resigned. So, this just keeps going.
Gosh,
day after day, we have another case that's being re-looked at either by a judge or by this independent review board. And so the damage continues to mount. But Ronner is referring to that, but he's also referring to Tiny Dancer's unwillingness to support the Ronner turnaround agenda.
Yeah, his pro-business, anti-union agenda, right?
Well, it's
or anti-union reforms, I should say, in exchange for state cash, because CPS needs it.
I don't think they're anti-union. I think they're pro-worker.
Okay.
But I mean, I know how they're characterized.
But those in unions tell me it's anti-union, that he's trying to bust the unions.
Well, the other thing he did, though, the key thing he did yesterday is say that if the recall legislation that's sponsored by State Representative LaShawn Ford makes it to his desk, he is going to sign it. That is substantial news, and it made national news. Brett Baer actually reported on it on Fox yesterday.
I have it right here.
I have not studied the bill that's been proposed, but what I've been informed about it, based upon that, I would sign that bill.
And somebody yesterday, in Crane's Chicago Business, put it this way: Rahm has been nothing but antagonistic to Ronner's agenda. They may be in the same wine club, but I suggest that if the bill lands on Ronner's desk, he signs it. You know who said that?
Dan Proft.
That's right. I said that yesterday on the show, and
yes, you did.
A few hours later,
it was quoted in Crane's.
Yeah, thank you, Greg Hines, for listening to the show. We appreciate your patronage. But the key, though, is with Ronner signing this, it leaves the rest of the Republicans in the House and the Senate nowhere to hide. I mean, I know that Jim Durkin and Christine Radogno, the House Superminority Leader and the Senate Superminority Leader, respectively, would need seeing eye dogs to identify a political opportunity, to identify a leadership opportunity. I don't want to hear about caterwauling from downstate Republicans who don't think that Chicago has any relevance to their district, because, of course, it does. You're being terribly naive. This is a leadership moment, and now the governor has provided it. Where is Jim Durkin? Where is Christine Radogno? Where are the House and Senate Republican caucuses speaking with one voice and signing on as many individual reform Republican legislators like Jeannie Ives and Dave McSweeney and Tim Bivens, a senator from Dixon, and Mark Batnick out in Kendall County, Plainfield, Kendall County area, Will County area, and others. Where are those other? Where's the leadership of the caucuses in the General Assembly to speak with one voice? Because the opportunity is to say, listen up, Chicagoans, where we haven't played politically in a century. This is an opportunity for you to reconsider with whom you align, because we're standing with you. We think that this mayor should go just as you do, which a majority of Chicagoans do. And, specifically you, minority families in the largely minority communities or neighborhoods, this is an opportunity for us to have a dialogue we haven't had in a long time. And maybe for you to think a second time, to borrow a Pragerism, about with those representatives you have and those political kingpins with whom you align. What an opportunity this is. And as usual, at the leadership level, with the exception of the governor, but in the General Assembly, and they wonder why they're in the super minority, you have general silence, people, kind of doing whatever and having one-off legislators sign on to this bill.
But don't you think that now that the governor has come forward saying that he will support the recall bill, that now Christine Radogno, Durkin, that they will fall in line?
I mean,
the opportunity is knocking. I mean, this is the perfect chance if they wanted to jump in and show allegiance not only with their party, but with what is morally correct. This is the time to do it.
And what happens now, because the governor's made the statement he made, is there are fewer dark corners in Springfield in which to hide. You're going to have to come out and take a position. And if the position is, I have, in Jim Durkin's case, I have downtown legal interests and I don't want to upset the apple cart, that's not a very compelling position as the Republican leader in the House. And, by the way, not just to focus on Republicans, great opportunity also to say, hey, all you Democrats.
Hey, you guys.
Why aren't you backing your friends LaShawn Ford and Mary Flowers in their legislation? Hey, you minority aldermen and minority legislators in particular who like to play the politics of race identity and socioeconomic identity.
Where are you where there's an opportunity to depose someone who clearly isn't seen as representing the neighborhoods and communities you represent? Who are you actually serving? Great opportunity for a potentially to push a watershed moment in the city of Chicago. And frankly, there are not enough hands on deck at this point.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Plenty of sunshine today, a high of 31 degrees. And tonight it's going to be partly cloudy, lows into the 20s. And tomorrow some sunshine giving way to clouds, a little bit warmer, a high of 37. Let's get the travel times. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Good morning, Amy. Good morning, Dan. CTA Blue Line trains have some delays on the inbound side near UIC Holsted. There's been some police activity in that area. Lakeshore Drive, southbound, right near Navy Pier, near the Illinois Street and Grand Avenue exit. There's a crash reported in that area. Southbound Tri-State at Cicero, crash on the right shoulder. Careful out there. Inbound Bishop Ford, a little heavy now. Cottage Grove to the Rhine. Inbound Rye just a little heavy approaching downtown. The other expressways and tollways are delay-free. Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
America has a serious narcotics problem. 90% of the world's narcotics are taken by Americans. They have a place, but when you're dealing with chronic pain, pain that doesn't go away or which frequently returns, there is a better way. You're masking the pain. We help you find and deal with the source of the chronic pain to get real relief. This is Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. We're serious players in pain. Our team are national leaders and we're educators in the treatment of pain. We will work with you to diminish or eliminate your pain and help you get your life back. Contact us. We will help you. You don't have to live with chronic pain. We treat all pain. We don't mask it with painkillers and narcotics that are not good for you and which can be addictive. I have a simple message for you. If you or someone you love or someone you know has chronic pain, contact us. Treating chronic pain issues is what we do. We can make it better. Get an appointment and let's talk. MyPainChicago.com, MyPainChicago.com. All the info is available at MyPainChicago.com. Let's make you pain-free.
Townstone Financial is synonymous with great rates, low closing costs, and phenomenal service to the thousands who have completed purchases and refinances with us since 2002. Hi, my name is Barry Sterner, owner of Townstone Financial. Let's hear about the Townstone experience from one of our customers.
Hi, I'm Vito Parisi, president of the STM Group, Transportation Advisors for shippers across North America. One of the reasons we love doing business with Barry and his team is very proactive with the whole closing process. We get a voice. We're not geared towards going to a website and going through multiple screens to find out the status of our loan. And that's one of the things that we really value with dealing with Barry, and will continue to do so in the future.
Remember, nobody values your business more than Townstone Financial, and I'm always available to answer your questions. Call me now, Barry Sterner, at 312-896-2111. That's 312-896-2111. Or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financials, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Illinois, mortgage licensee 6629 and NMLS 136639. Equal housing lender.
I'm about to jump out of this airplane to show you why you need to incorporate. See, running your business without being incorporated is like
skydiving without a parachute. If you're not incorporated and someone sues your business, you can lose everything. Your home, your car, even your life savings.
Phew. Incorporation is your parachute. That's why Incorporate.com is now giving away a free incorporation guide to all business owners, so you can incorporate in just 10 minutes. Call 1-800-966-1144 for your free 10-minute incorporation guide. They don't provide legal or financial advice, just make incorporating or forming an LLC quick and easy. You wouldn't skydive without a parachute. Don't run your business without being incorporated. Protect your home, your car, and your life savings. Call now for your free guide. 1-800-966-1144. 1-800-966-1144. 1-800-966-1144.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, Governor Honor said he's very disappointed with Rahm and the Cook County State's Attorney. Her name is Anita Alvarez for now. She gave an interesting interview to our friend of the show, Carol Felsenthal, in Chicago Magazine that was posted yesterday, where she declared, "I've done nothing wrong." And, basically the people protesting outside her office, they're organized. One of her political opponents is behind it, Tony Breckwinkel. She's done her job, basically. She says, "I just asked the protest to be peaceful Some of these calls for my resignation are not coming from the average citizen. They're coming from a political opponent and people who are supporting a political opponent. She's talking about Kim Foxx, Tony Preckwinkle's former chief of staff, who's running against her in this primary and will, in all likelihood, be the next Cook County State's attorney.
Well, I have a question for you about Bronner and his comments, because ABC 7 News, Charles Thomas, good friend of the show, he said that the legislation will allow voters to recall the mayor, but he says the law wouldn't apply to Rahm Emanuel. So what does that headline mean?
It's possible. That's a interpretation of it's not an interpretation of the bill. It's a look at case history. So there are people saying, well, what's the point of the recall? Because based on, for example, U of I trustees case, it has to be prospective for people who have not yet been elected to office. Maybe. And I'll tell you what, pass the legislation, and there's nothing specific in the legislation, in language of legislation, that calls for that. They're looking at a precedent. But pass the legislation, sign it, and if Rahm or some aldermen who don't want to be recalled want to litigate it, let's go ahead and litigate it. We passed a pension law, and that was litigated all the way up to the Supreme Court and overturned. So let's go ahead and litigate it, even if that's true, and even if that's the outcome of litigation. At minimum, the downside, the worst case scenario here is you then have a recall mechanism in place for future Chicago mayors starting in 2019 and future Chicago aldermen. So what's wrong with that? We have one in place for the governor and state legislators. So the worst possible outcome is a good outcome, and the best possible outcome is a better outcome.
And I don't know if you heard this, but Senator Dick Durbin called Governor Ronner right after he made this announcement and basically said he cautioned him about acting emotional on the recall bill.
Oh, please.
Please. He's a huge, obviously, Rahm Emanuel ally, but please.
Sack of Durbin, as we called him once upon a time in a different show. I'll tell you, I just want to get this in as well because we've been talking about Chicago police a lot. Chicago Tribune, Chicago police officers shot 22 people in 2015, 8 of them fatally. That's a 40% drop in the total number of people shot compared with 2014 when 37 people were hit by police gunfire, 16 killed. The number of people shot by Chicago cops has gradually declined going back to 2011 and 2012. So I'm not discounting the Laquan McDonald case, the LeGrier and Betty Jones cases, but I'm just trying to provide a little perspective considering how many interactions Chicago police have with 2.7 million residents, whatever the population is down to these days. These are still isolated cases. And then it's not representative of 13,000 Chicago police officers. And sometimes we forget that. Now, on the flip side, a quick fact, a little factoid, 2015, 31 officers were shot and killed in the line of duty nationally. That is, when you control for population growth, that is the safest year on record for police officers in this country since 1887.
Wow. 31 nationally?
Yeah.
I think we've heard about half of those cases, though.
Well, that's right. They're high-profile cases. They deserve to be high-profile cases because we want police officers protected. We don't, obviously. But we want to lionize those that give their lives in service to protecting others. But sometimes we lose perspective on the numbers and the actual frequency of incidents of these cases because these cases are so publicized and we spend so much time talking about them. I just wanted to kind of take a step back and take a broader view. It's not to excuse any of the cases. It's not to minimize any of these cases, the loss of life, but it is just to provide a little bit of perspective.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Change in the market shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. In fact, since World War II, we've seen a correction on average about once every 18 months. That's why Arlington Capital Management developed proprietary tools that help them to see what's beyond your investment horizon. Like an experienced ship captain uses tools to avoid stormy weather, Arlington Capital Management uses tools to guide you through market corrections before it's too late and help us decide when to capitalize on opportunity. Call Arlington Capital Management today at 855-471-5796 to learn how their active management systems can help you. Each day, they actively explore the market, our economy, and all the variables that affect your investments. Stormy markets never cloud their vision. The professionals at Arlington Capital Management use their tools and experience to guide them. Call Arlington Capital Management today at 855-471-5796 for a financial review. The number again is 855-471-5796, or learn more at arlington-capital.com.
You did it. That's right. Because of your generosity and support of our annual Feed the Children campaign, we were able to reach our goal of feeding over 18,000 children in and around the Chicagoland area this holiday season. Now, those are real families with real needs that you have helped to meet. And we especially want to thank the many business benefactors who've stepped up in a huge way. Now, when you hear their advertisements on this station in the coming months, we encourage you to support them as a way of saying thanks for their generosity. And just because we met our goal in 2015, that does not mean that the need has gone away. Hunger is still a real challenge for thousands of families and children in our area. So please continue to support Feed the Children with a tax-deductible gift of any amount at any time. Just go to feedthechildren.org. And thanks again from all of us here at AM 560, The Answer. And coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, the big dog is back. Bill Clinton hits the campaign trail.
And he's got a cure for that jellyfish bite of yours. We'll have the latest on the hillbilly house of cards that is the House of Clinton after we check the news with Mike Scott.
Dan and Amy, good morning. Cloudy and 20 degrees right now. Officials on the scene of a hostage standoff in DeKalb County, Georgia. That's suburban Atlanta. Authorities say there are as many as 11 children being held inside a motel. Series of El Nino-generated storms gathering steam over the Pacific. Officials in Northern California have issued flash flood watches for several areas hit hard by last year's wildfires. Jittery investors are hoping for the best when the bell rings on day 2 of trading in the new year on Wall Street. The Dow losing 276 yesterday. MoneyAnswers.com economic analyst Jordan Goodman says there may be another problem hitting the markets as well.
The Iran-Saudi Arabia clash, where they're closing each other's embassies, potentially going to get into a war in the Middle East, would be a very bad thing, too.
Downturn began after Chinese stocks slid 7%. The president tells the nation today his steps to curb gun violence.
To make sure that criminals, people who are mentally unstable, those...
Why does this issue matter to you?
Because I'm a rapist survivor myself. Of course it would matter to me.
President expected to outline several executive actions
tell me that they're drug addicts
sellers to get a license and limit the ability.
You're a Republican, though. Coming here to question her, though. Coming here to question her in an event, putting her on the spot like that makes her look, not in a perfect light. Is that your goal? Was your goal to make her look silly?
I was a Democrat. I became a Republican because of
Sheriff
this.
of an Oregon county where an armed group has taken control of a federal building is calling on militia members to leave. Sheriff David Ward.
The Hammonds have turned themselves in. It's time for you to leave our community, go home to your families, and end this peacefully.
Sheriff David Ward says that help stopped when a peaceful protest over a prison sentence for those 2 ranchers became an armed occupation. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is hoping his week-long stump of Iowa will put him in the winner's circle next month, telling Fox News.
We're doing 28 counties in 6 days. We started in Boone County, then we were in Carroll County. We're now here in Guthrie County. And I got to tell you, the energy, the enthusiasm that we're seeing on the ground has been incredible.
Recent polls show Cruz up on the GOP field right now in Iowa. Federal judge has ordered a new civil trial in a case involving a fatal police shooting in Chicago involving the killing of Darius Pinnix during a traffic stop in 2011. Officials say Illinois patients legally purchased about $1.7 million worth of medical marijuana during November and December. Chicago sports. Bulls say an MRI shows no structural damage to the right knee of point guard Derrick Rose. Bears apparently sticking with Jay Cutler as quarterback next year. On the docket tonight, Milwaukee and the Bulls, and on the ice, the Blackhawks at Pittsburgh. The news service of Stand Up to Cancer and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
A new year brings resolutions. Some will resolve to get in shape or start a new hobby. Some will resolve to finish a project or start a project. Some will resolve to completely change everything. Yeah, well, we resolve to not change at all. That's right, we're staying the same. We'll be bringing you the best coverage of breaking news and the most stimulating talk. Hey, stick to what you're good at. From AM 560, The Answer.
Remodel your kitchen or bath with Galaxy and get free installation, free design, and free financing. Call Galaxy at 773-783-8300 or schedule online at galaxyhome.com.
Over the last few months, the stock market has been nothing short of a roller coaster ride. Is there another big correction on the horizon? Are you prepared? Or are you at the mercy of stockbrokers if it does happen? Let Online Trading Academy teach you how to navigate the stock market during these changing times. They offer professional trading and investing education for every skill level. They'll teach you a rules-based strategy, trading on knowledge, not speculations, so you can identify market changes before they happen. Online Trading Academy has a state-of-the-art educational facility centrally located in Lombard. Call today, 877-OTA-CHIC. That's 877-682-2442 to attend a free half-day course. Call now and mention you heard this message on AM 560 The Answer, and they'll send you home with a free home video study course valued at $247 just for attending. This is a great opportunity to learn from the pros. Reservations are limited, so call now, 877-682-2442 or online at tradingacademy.com/Chicago.
537 in our ChicagoRadioDeals.com traffic center. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. Traffic is still relatively light. No delays to report on the Edens, the Kennedy, the Eisenhower, the Stevenson, or even the Rhine. Inbound Bishop Ford, little tight from Cottage Grove to the Rhine. It's just a 1-minute delay. Lakeshore Drive southbound at Randolph. There's a crash in the right lane. The tollways are good. The CTA Blue Line has some residual delays after some police activity at the UIC Holstead Station. Traffic is a service of Stand Up to Cancer. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. AirComfort.com, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Plenty of sunshine today after the clouds get kicked out early this morning, high 31. Partly cloudy and 23 overnight. Sunshine gives way to clouds and warmer tomorrow, high 37. 18 at O'Hare. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Real Estate Live with Andrew Holmes. Get honest answers to your questions every Sunday at 12 noon.
Hey, before you read about it on Facebook or Twitter or hear about it from your friends, find out what today's big stories really mean with me, Sean Hannity, today at 2, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so Amy, you had Hillary have that town hall in New Hampshire where she was heckled, and a lot was made of the heckling and people applauding when Hillary shouted down the heckler. You remember.
Let's start with the questions, and I'll try to get as many in. Well, I'm going to call on people. Wait a minute. I'm not going to take your question because other people have been Yes, go right there. Okay, let me see. They're right back there. This man right there here we go, right there. You are very rude, and I'm not going to ever call on you. Thank you.
Ooh, yay, yay.
She's so assertive. Look how tough she could be.
Yeah, the heckler in question is a New Hampshire state representative named Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien. And she was trying to ask Hillary Clinton about the conduct of her husband, Bill Clinton. Now, Bill Clinton made his first solo campaign appearance yesterday in New Hampshire. And before we get to what Bill Clinton had to say and the 2x4 he got hit with by an ABC reporter, and kudos to her.
Oh, Cecilia Vega.
Yeah,
yep.
She did good for her for asking the question she asked. We'll get to that. But what was she trying to do? What was that heckler, Catherine, a state representative?
State rep.
And she's a Republican, of course. What was she trying to do? Well, actually, an enterprising reporter actually caught up with her to get a little bit more information. And then, isn't this interesting? Here's the beginning.
I asked her how in the world she can say that Juanita Broderick and Kathleen Willey are lying when she has no idea who Juanita Broderick is, because she told me this summer that she doesn't know who she is and she doesn't want to know who she is. And how can she assess that they're lying, which is what she told someone last month? What? And she says that rape victims should be believed. I agree with her. That's true. They should be believed, and you should assess what they're saying. She doesn't even want to assess it.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting point that she raises, though? I mean, for Hillary Clinton to pretend like she doesn't know who Juanita Broaddrick is laughable. But Hillary runs around trotting specious statistics about campus sexual assaults, and she says,
"Well, she's banging the Democratic drum there because that's what they do."
Well, that's right. But and as Representative Prudhomme O'Brien suggested, Hillary Clinton also says that rape victims should be believed and their cases assessed, but they should be believed, but not Juanita Broaddrick, not the other Bill Clinton accusers. They're exempted from that protocol. Why does this matter? Why does this issue matter so much to Catherine Prudhomme O'Brien, the state representative? It's just because she's a right-wing Republican, part of that vast conspiracy Hillary talks so much about?
Why does this issue matter to you?
Because I'm a rape survivor myself. Of course it would matter to me. And as a state representative, I have constituents who tell me that they're drug addicts because they were sexually assaulted and nobody did anything. How would I not care about that?
Because I'm a rape victim myself.
Ah.
Mic drop.
Yes, and she walked away.
Well, she didn't, but I mean, how about that? Just some random heckler. You know, this was how it was characterized initially over the weekend. Just some random heckler, a Republican.
She did stand up, and she was in her face, and she's leaning over like, "Hey, pick me! I'm over here." And she has every right to do that because it is a town hall meeting.
Well, I know, but now we know.
She would have been more effective in my mind if she would have waited her turn to ask the question.
Oh, I think it actually turns out to be more effective this way because everybody rushes to applaud Hillary Clinton. Those people applauding Hillary Clinton, would they have been applauding if they knew Representative Prudhomme O'Brien was a rape victim? Is that how they would have treated her?
Well, I don't know.
If they knew that? I mean, probably so, because their ideology clouds their equanimity, right? I mean, they don't. It's only if you agree with me do I care about you, or do I apply what I say I believe to you? If you disagree with me, well, then you're just a Republican, and my principles don't apply there. Also, on the matter of being a Republican. Miss Representative Prudhomme O'Brien addressed that as well.
You're a Republican, though.
Yes,
coming here to question her, though. Coming here to question her in an event, putting her on the spot like that makes her look, not in a perfect light. Is that your goal? Was your goal to make her look silly?
I was a Democrat. I became a Republican because of this.
What?
Because of this stuff. Because of what I saw happen in the Clinton years. That this was the hypocrisy of the so-called women that fight for women. It was the height of hypocrisy.
What about that? Cackle Caucus members, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Anybody who's a friend of Amy there in Lakeview, who's a big Hillary fan, just say friend of Amy. We'll fire you right through because I want to hear from Hillary Cackle Caucus members about this. Oh, there it is. Isn't that delightful?
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. And our text line 64636, type in DA, then your comment. Or now we have a new way to reach us, Dan. Do you have that placard in front of you with the emails through the app? The AM560 mobile app.
AM560 mobile app, yeah. AM560, the Answer mobile app, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be calling because I don't think they're awake yet. But
well, I'll tell you what. We'll revisit this topic, and maybe text some of them.
I will, but I can just tell you what they're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
They're sick of relitigating Bill Clinton's sexual escapades.
Are they? What about why? Why are they sick of it? I mean, to her point, Representative Prudhomme O'Brien's point, women standing up for women. What hypocrisy. Turned her from a Democrat to a Republican.
Mm-hmm. I used to be a Democrat. I'm a recovering Democrat, but it wasn't the Clintons that turned me. It was President Obama that turned me.
Okay, well, Representative
we all
Prudhomme...
have our own personal reasons why we've changed parties.
And she was a rape victim.
And I respect her for what she went through and her change. I love that.
And women are to be believed, and then the case investigated. That's Hillary Clinton's protocol. Forget about relitigating the Bill Clinton sexual escapades or ongoing sexual escapades, as the case may be. Yeah. Your Cackle Caucus friends don't get off that easy.
Well,
wait a second. Okay. Hillary Clinton is running to be president of the United States. Her hypocrisy on this issue is at bar, and it is manifest.
Well, would she have been better served or better off politically if she divorced him because he wasn't faithful to her?
The issue
or her
is
daughter or his family.
The issue, I don't. She can do whatever she wants. The issue is her hypocrisy, the blithe, misplaced moral superiority, the idea that she is some avatar for women, standing up for women, and she's nothing of the sort, because what does she do to Paula Jones and Juanita Broderick and Catherine Willey and all
Jennifer
the other
Flowers.
and Monica Lewinsky?
She was my favorite.
Vast right-wing conspiracy. What happened to women standing up for women? What happened to women are supposed to believe? She not only, it's not like she was just silent because she's not Tammy Wynette standing by her man baking cookies at home. She was part of, and frankly, at the tip of the spear of the damage control.
Yeah,
Rank hypocrisy.
because she was protecting herself.
And let me tell you, Cackle Caucus members, particularly Amy Friends, remove the mirrors from your homes, because don't pretend to have a shred of self-respect. Don't pretend that you are some kind of neo-feminist standing up for women who've been victimized when you fall in line with this hillbilly House of Cards routine that Bill and Hillary are doing. And here's the second iteration of that. Bill Clinton, after he gave his boring 20-minute stem winder, the idea this guy is some kind of great orator and communicator. I mean, he is just a colossal bore. He gave a 20-minute stem winder in New Hampshire, got off the stage, and as you mentioned, the ABC reporter's name, Cecilia Vega.
She was all on him.
She point blanked him, and I mean, you have to go online and watch this video after you hear from us, because when she asked this question, it literally looked like he got hit by an imaginary 2x4. He didn't see this coming, because why would Bill Clinton get a tough question?
Well, why would somebody from ABC turn on him? Because Cecilia Vega was assigned to Hillary, and you can see through the recent months her disdain for her, because Hillary has not been accessible and roped them off. And all of a sudden now she's asking hard questions.
Roped them up. Yeah. Right, yeah. And Bill Clinton's not used to getting hard questions from the Washington Press Corps.
If I may, Mr. President, Donald Trump says your past is fair game. I've got to ask you, you keep coming up on the trail with him. Is it fair game?
Republicans have to decide who they want. I'm trying to tell now the Democrats in the country who I think Hillary be the best president. And I think there's always a temper to take the election away from the people, so I'm just going to give it to them.
It's difficult to hear that background noise, but
he was stunned silent for 3 seconds.
Well, and then he gave a non sequitur answer.
Yeah,
he said, "I'm here to tell the Democrats who the best candidate should be for president, and the Republicans are going to have to decide who their best candidate is." What does that have to do with whether you're fair game or not? So, I mean, it's fascinating, and it's of course the manifestation of the guilty conscience of a sexual predator.
Hey,
Philip in Blue Island, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. From Hillary Clinton's perspective, if she's a wife and she got a womanizing husband who has done much more worse than womanizing, if you really want to ask me, cocaine dealing and all these other type of crazy stuff that Clinton has been into for years. But you got Donald Trump, who has cheated on his first wife, had a child out of wedlock with the second wife, and then cheated on the third wife. So, I mean, you all are just, what does this have to do with Hillary Clinton as far as being a wife?
Philip, you weren't listening. What it has to do with Hillary Clinton is her hypocrisy. She is running because she's grandmama. She is running on the gender card. She is saying she is a champion for women. And she's not she's not a champion for women. She's a champion for...
Why not?
You weren't listening, and you're still not. I
am listening. What I'm saying
she's a champion. Wait a second. She's a champion for women who support her, and any woman that would create a hurdle for her political ambitions, she trashes. That's what she did. Let me ask you a question. If you had a 55-year-old man who happened to also be the most powerful man in the world, but just a corporate CEO, prey on a 20-year-old intern at his company, what do you think would happen to that corporate CEO? And what do you think should?
Well, the board would have taken him off.
What would happen to that intern? I mean, you got these fools running around.
So now we're blaming the victim. Now you're adopting Hillary's position.
Women chase powerful men all over the world. I don't even know why you acting like that's not the truth.
No, they do, but morally correct men don't invite them in.
That has nothing to do with this. It's Hillary's. It is Hillary's hypocrisy that is the issue. Thanks for the call, Philip. Mark in Romeoville.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. It's not so much about they don't want to relitigate Bill Clinton. They just don't want the young upcoming voters that didn't know about a serial rapist being out there hidden by his wife getting out.
I don't know if
and that's what it's really about.
I think he's socially deviant. I don't know if he's a serial rapist.
Well, thanks for the call, Mark. I mean, certainly they don't want the stories, these hillbilly House of Cards stories from 20 years ago, to be reintroduced. Of course they don't. They don't put the Clintons in a particularly positive light. That's right. Candace in DuPage.
Didn't he get in trouble because he perjured himself on a stand? I want millennials to know that man was impeached, and he should not be in the White House again, nor should his stupid wife.
Yeah, right. In trouble. He got impeached. Exactly. Thanks for the call, Candace. Vinny in Elmwood Park.
Hey, guys, great show. But, Dan, talking about someone getting hit with a 2x4, that was a great call. You're talking about Bill Clinton, his womanizing.
This is not a
leader who's a
Bill, this is I'm not advocating for Donald Trump, and if you've listened to the show, you know that. Number one. Number two, Donald Trump is not a paragon of moral virtue. Nobody's ever accused him of being. Number three, this is not a comparison between Hillary and Donald Trump. This is an assessment of Hillary's hypocrisy, and I want caucus members to admit to the hypocrisy. Then we can have the larger conversation.
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Plenty of sunshine today, high of 31 degrees. Then tonight into the 20s we go. And tomorrow some sunshine giving way to clouds. Hopefully it'll be warm enough for that coating of ice in front of everyone's house to melt. A high of 37 degrees. Get your ice picks out. Let's see if there's any troubles on the roadway and slick conditions. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Thanks, Amy and Dan. Good morning. Traffic is getting a little bit heavier, but it's overall not bad. Edens, Kennedy still delay-free. The Eisenhower as well. Inbound Stevenson a bit tight. Pulaski to Kedzie, just a 1 or 2 minute delay. The inbound Ryan has a 4-minute delay from the Stevenson to downtown. Bishop Ford, about a 1 or 2 minute delay. Cottage Grove to the merge. Northbound Tri-State heavy around 290. The other tollways are clear. I'm Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
The only defense between your family and another harsh Chicago winter is your roof. For 3 generations, the Lindhome family has been keeping Chicagoland homes safe and protected from the elements, even in the winter. They specialize in exterior needs from roofing, windows, brickwork, gutters, and siding. Start the new year off right by calling 888-4-ROOFER. That's 888-4-ROOFER. There's still time to inspect that roof or window. In fact, roofing and windows can be installed in cooler weather, and most jobs can be done the same day. So don't wait until you have an emergency on your hands. Call Lindhome Roofing at 888-4-ROOFER. That's 888-4, ROOFER, or visit lindhomeroofing.com. Lindhome Roofing, their family has your family covered.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to drill down and talk about the big ideas behind the big issues. That's where Upstream Ideas comes in. Upstream Ideas, online at upstream-ideas.com, in partnership with the Illinois Opportunity Project, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted orthodoxies. In other words, Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks upstream. Go online now to upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to spur you on to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit more free, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
I'm amazed. I want to say thank you to Balance of Nature. You guys are awesome. God bless you. The reason I have so much enthusiasm is because I speak as a person who has investigated the things that are out there. What I see is that there's many, many people telling the same story, and it's ruining it for the people who really are true. You know, up until this point, I had a lot of doubt whether I have an instinct that there should be something you can spend some money on and get something good, and I hadn't found it, and I believe I have found it this time. So, again, awesome, and thank you.
The top 3 New Year's resolutions are health-related. Improve your odds by getting started early with our best price of the year. Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
Lately, it seems you're not feeling quite right, as if your body is working against you. Dr. Amy and Associates can help create a path to achieve optimal health. Experience personalized health care for your mind, body, and spirit at a practice that blends holistic and traditional medicine.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Harris-Nuon of Dr. Amy and Associates. As an integrative health and wellness center, we take a team approach to your health care, so we welcome the opportunity to work collaboratively with your current health care provider. We're different from today's typical standard of care because our focus is understanding the root cause of your health problem, not just treating the symptoms. It's a personalized approach that explores a wide range of proven treatments, and one that's focused on helping you achieve your health and wellness goals so you can achieve a full, happy, and satisfying life.
Call Dr. Amy and Associates to experience a whole-person integrative approach to health and wellness. 630-980-1400 or visit dramyasandassociates.com. Dr. Amy and Associates, empowering people, changing lives.
Hi, my name is Ed Bryant. You may have heard Dan Proft talk about me as Pastor Ed Bryant at thegunsafetyguy.com. I teach gun safety and defense classes, but they can't save us from our own mortality. So as a pastor, I teach the class that means the most to me and makes everything else look trivial. I'm talking about my class on basic biblical Christianity. We take a subject-by-subject tour of the Bible and examine such questions as, is there a God and how do we know? And what distinguishes Christianity from other faiths and from just being spiritual? And the main question, how can this Jesus born in Bethlehem really deal with our mortality? We connect the birth of Christ with his death and resurrection and ultimately face the question, is it true? Sign up for an introductory session on Thursday evening, January 21st at St. Timothy Lutheran Church in Lombard. For more info, go to sttimothy.org and click on the Basic Biblical Christianity icon. Again, that's SAINT Timothy.org.
It's easy to take your commercial HVAC system for granted. It's always there, keeping your building comfortably warm or cool. Until you have a system failure. With another unforgiving Chicago winter just around the corner, now's the time to have a comprehensive review of your mechanical HVAC system. And you don't want just anyone. You want Air Comfort, Chicagoland's leading mechanical professionals. For over 80 years, Air Comfort has delivered its customers the best trained and highly skilled team of award-winning technicians. That's why Air Comfort is recognized as Star Certified by the MSCA, a designation achieved by only 2% of contractors nationwide. With a service fleet of more than 80 fully equipped vehicles, chances are that an Air Comfort technician is nearby. Schedule your system check by calling now, 708-345-1900. That's 708-345-1900 or online at aircomfort.com.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Is the civil disobedience in Oregon justified? We'll ask that question and attempt to answer it at 6:06.
And Senator Ron Johnson will be here, and also later how you can smell like Vladimir Putin. But first, let's go back into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, reparations paid in a Chicago police torture case will give you the figure. A family of a woman accidentally shot by police has filed a lawsuit, and income tax refunds in Illinois could be delayed. Plenty of sunshine today. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. He says the goal is
prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands.
And President Obama says he has the legal authority to take executive action on gun control. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, the president is expected to announce today he's taking action to expand background checks for some private gun sales and provide more funding for mental health care, as well as for new FBI agents. 230 more examiners would be hired to process background checks. Republicans aren't happy. Presidential candidates, including Ted Cruz, say they'd repeal the actions.
We don't beat the bad guys by taking away our guns. We beat the bad guys by using our guns.
The ATF will issue updated guidance saying the government can consider someone a gun dealer regardless of where the guns are sold. Dave.
Racial armed protesters are still at a wildlife refuge in Oregon demanding local control of federal land, but the Harney County Sheriff is telling them
the Hammonds have turned themselves in. It's time for you to leave our community
Go home to your families and end this peacefully.
Sheriff David Ward referenced the Hammonds. It's the extra prison time given to those two ranchers in an arson case that started the protest-turned-occupation. Iran and Saudi Arabia keep sparring. Fox's Jessica Gallagher live in our Middle East Bureau.
Dave, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani says Saudi Arabia cannot cover up its crime of executing prominent Shiite cleric Nimr al-Nimr by cutting ties with the Islamic Republic. After the execution, Iranians stormed and burned Riyadh's embassy and consulate in Tehran. The statement comes after Kuwait announced it recalled its ambassador to Iran. The United Arab Emirates downgraded its relations with Tehran. Sudan and Bahrain have cut ties altogether. Al-Nimr was a central figurehead in minority Shiite protests in Saudi Arabia. Dave.
Jessica, White, South Carolina police officer charged with murder is back home under house arrest. Michael Slager now free on bond ahead of his October trial. His shooting of an unarmed black man after a traffic stop was caught on much-watched cell phone video. This is Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Outside, we have cloudy skies, 18 degrees. We're headed for sunshine later today. 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning, I'm Mike Scott. The city of Chicago has paid out $5.5 million to 57 whose claims that they were tortured by police decades ago were found to be credible. Most victims received checks totaling $100,000. The money paid out Monday to victims of a police unit commanded by John Burge. Federal judge has ordered a new trial in a civil case focused on a fatal police shooting in Chicago. That judge tossed out an April jury decision that found two officers were justified in the killing of Darius Pinnock during a traffic stop in 2011. Crews will resume their search efforts for the day after a man who went missing in a frigid lake in southern Wisconsin disappeared. Wisconsin DNR Warden Jason Roberts says crews ended their search for the day late Monday evening, but again resumed their work this morning.
Cold weather, wind, water temperatures that are probably around 34 degrees. We're on the verge of making ice out here.
Searchers have been scouring Mill Lake, about 35 miles southeast of Milwaukee, since the 4 Illinois men were reported missing on Sunday. Governor Bruce Rauner says Illinois will not help Chicago Public Schools avert a financial disaster unless Mayor Rahm Emanuel begins pushing some of the Republican governor's legislative agenda. Rauner repeating his position that it will not change, even if CPS begins layoffs of thousands of teachers facing a $1 billion budget shortfall. A former employee of Chicago's Field Museum of Natural History has pleaded guilty to embezzling more than $33,000 from the institution. Karen Benson of Chicago faces up to 37 months in prison under a plea agreement entered into on Monday. And water levels continue to drop on the flooded Mississippi, Sangamon, and Illinois rivers. South of Peoria, however, the Illinois River is still stacking up. Also along the Wabash River in southeast Illinois, 2 crews of state prison inmates have been working round the clock in Scott County, shoring up the Big Swan levee. Chicago sports, Bulls saying an MRI shows no structural damage to the right knee of Derrick Rose. Bulls will stick with quarterback Jay Cutler next season. Tonight, the Bulls take on Milwaukee, and on the ice, Blackhawks at Pittsburgh. The news, a service of Stand Up to Cancer, and a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Hey, Chicagoland, Dave Ramsey here. For the last 20-plus years, we've helped millions of people get their financial lives in order. And now, for the first time ever, we're bringing our Smart Money Tour to you. Financial expert Chris Hogan and I will be at Willow Creek Church on January 12th. If you're tired of living paycheck to paycheck or wondering what you're going to do when retirement comes around, don't miss this event. Get your seats today at DaveRamsey.com.
Sponsored in part by Executive Green Carpet Cleaning.
What would an extra $250 a month mean to you? For some, it's a little financial breathing room. For others, it's a car payment, a home repair, or help with college tuition. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I've got some great news if you're looking to save money on your mortgage. All it takes is a simple phone call to Quicken Loans at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Folks who refinance with HARP can save an average of $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. Our home loan experts fully understand the HARP guidelines, and they'll walk you through our streamlined process And for 6 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
It is 6:06. Let's get an update on the roads in our ChicagoRadioDeals.com traffic center. The latest with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. Lakeshore Drive, southbound side at Randolph. There is a crash blocking the right lane. There's no significant delay. Traffic volume pretty light on the outer drive. Edens is fine, so is the Kennedy. Inbound Eisenhower getting just a little heavy past Manheim, but it's lighter than you would expect at this point. Same goes for the Stevenson. Just a 1-minute delay from Pulaski to Kedzie. Inbound Ryan, it's slow from the Stevenson into the Burn Circle. 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57 still fine, Bishop Ford. Just a 1-minute delay, Cottage Grove to the right. Northbound Tri-State heavy. The Reagan Tollway to 290. Traffic is a service of Boys and Girls Club of America. It's 3 p.m. School's out for America's kids, and when school's out, clubs are in. Time to support the Boys and Girls Clubs. Visit greatfutures.org. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
At 6:07, it's time to check the climate of your business with aircomfort.com. 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next after a check of the weather with our meteorologist, Kevin Snyder.
Sunshine today with a high 31, then tonight partly cloudy, low 23. Tomorrow some sun followed by clouds, high 36, and remaining cloudy through the night with a low 31. Then a morning shower in spots Thursday with rain and drizzle in the afternoon, high 37. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
18 at O'Hare, 20 along the lakefront. Next news at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by HealthQuest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. HealthQuest Radio is heard Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock here on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Call it the sprint to the starting line. After all those months of rising and falling fortunes, we're now just 28 days from the first nominating contest of the 2016 race for president.
Below freezing on the road in Iowa, Ted Cruz plays a hot hand in the lead, but not a lot.
It's still between you and Trump.
Today, kicking off trips to 28 counties in 6 days.
How the hell can she do that when she's got one of the great women abusers of all time sitting at her house?
I've adopted a New Year's resolution. I'm going to let him live in his alternative reality, and I'm not going to respond.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I'll tell you what, we'll take your calls on this, 312-642-5600. That's our turnkey.pro answer line, of course. 64636DA, the turnkey.pro text line. There's civil disobedience going on in Oregon because, I mean, that's what it is. They're the Ammo Bundy, as I like to call him, and his brother Ryan, and the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom is what they're calling themselves now?
Yes, Citizens for Constitutional Freedom, Dan. That's their hashtag. That's their group name now. They have a name. And they have a mission. But today's their 4th day, and today they hope is their last day there.
Just a point of order. Constitutional freedom, isn't that a bit redundant? I mean, the freedoms within the Constitution. Freedom.
Well, you know what? Why don't you go to Oregon and tell them that?
Yeah.
This is a double entendre. Constitutional freedom's a little redundant, guys.
Excuse me, fellas.
Hi, guys.
No, and again, there's been no violence. They're occupying vacant federal buildings at this wildlife refuge in Oregon.
And they wouldn't let the media in yesterday.
They did let the media in.
They did?
They did let.
They didn't let the mainstream media in.
They wouldn't let police in. But CNN had.
Did they get in?
Some statements. Ammo Bundy came out, and he had this to. Say.
We definitely have made a statement, but statements are not good enough. We intend on going to work and assisting the people of Harney County.
Right, and they also said, his brother said, we'll leave the occupied buildings if the community wants us to. Oregon Public Radio, Ryan Bundy said, this is their country. We can't be here and force this on them. If they don't want to retrieve their rights, and if the county people tell us to leave, we'll leave. This is very interesting. I am perhaps rushed to judgment a little bit yesterday to suggest this was a bit overzealous on the part of the Bundy brothers and their comrades in the Citizens for Constitutional Freedom Brigade. But I've read a little bit more about the background here. And it's very interesting. David French in National Review Online has an excellent piece that gives a little bit more color than I knew yesterday. So shame on me. And starts with this, what the media narrative is, and the derisive hashtag campaign, Oregon under attack. Nothing has been attacked. No violence has been advocated. All the Bundys have said is that they're not going to initiate any violence, but they'll defend themselves if violence is visited upon them.
Well, no law enforcement's on the scene yet.
Right. Well,
until today, Dan.
So what is the difference between this and occupying the president's office at a college campus? Civil disobedience. And the basis of the civil disobedience perhaps is a lot more justified than most of the media's reporting. As I said, David French distills this for us. The protesters are suggesting the government has been involved in campaigns designed to force the family in question, the Hammonds, the father and son who reported for their 5-year prison sentences yesterday.
After already spending 3 years in jail.
Right. Government campaign of harassment to force the family to sell its land, beginning with barricaded roads, arbitrarily revoked grazing permits, culminating in the absurd anti-terrorism prosecution based on 2 arsons that began on private land but spread to public land, spread to the refuge. Now, the anti-terrorism prosecution, this is kind of important. The two, just as some backdrop, the Hammond father and son, the Hammonds, the father and son, in 2010, 9 years after the first burn in question, 2001, and the other was 2006. Government filed a 19-count indictment against the Hammonds, including charges under the Federal Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act, which mandates this 5-year prison term. Here are the burns in question. In 2001, the government alleged that the first arson was ignited to cover up evidence of poaching and placed a teenager on the land in danger. The Hammonds claimed that they had started the fire to clear an invasive species, as is their legal right in their property. Whatever its intent, according to David French, the fire spread from the Hammonds' property and ultimately ignited 139 acres of public land. But the trial judge found that the teenager's testimony was tainted by age and bias, and that the fire had merely damaged juniper trees and sagebrush, damage that might total $100 in value.
For the 127 acres?
Yeah, $100 in value. The other burn in 2006 was described by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals this way. In August 2006, a lightning storm kindled several fires near where the Hammonds grew their winter feed. Stephen, I think that's the son, responded by attempting back burns near the boundary of his land. Although a burn ban was in effect, Stephen did not seek a waiver. His acres burned about an acre of public land. At trial, so these are the two terrorist acts in question. At trial, the jury found the Hammonds guilty of maliciously setting fire to private property worth less than $1,000 total, and acquitted them of other charges deadlocked on the government's conspiracy claims. At sentencing, the trial court refused to apply the minimum mandatory sentence, holding that 5 years in prison would be grossly disproportionate to the severity of the offenses, and that the Hammonds fires could not have been conduct intended to be covered under the Anti-Terrorism Act. Now, the U.S. Attorney appealed the trial court decision, and ultimately the Ninth Circuit was not persuaded by the Eighth Amendment concerns of the Hammonds and allowed the imposition of these 5-year prison terms in addition to time served. So there seems to be a fairly interesting argument, perhaps even a compelling argument, that the government engaged in an overzealous and vindictive prosecution here.
Well, it sounds like eminent domain, too.
Well, they're not taking the land. They're not taking any land. They're not taking the Hammonds' land. But here's another part of the problem, though, since you bring that up, the issue of private and public land. In Nevada, the government owns 80% of the land.
Mm-hmm.
In Oregon, the government owns 50% of the land. You know, the grazing rights and all. Why does the government own that much land in so many Western states? You know, actually,
well, the taxation, the revenue they can get for grazing fees.
Well,
from the people who own the local land next to the federal land.
Well,
that helps too. But why
well, I mean,
they own so much land?
That's nice for the government, but our country is founded on the cornerstone of private property rights, and the government shouldn't be amassing land holdings as a revenue source. It should be putting as much land in private hands, allowing as much land in private hands to be put to its highest best use, because government doesn't do a good job at highest best use. And so I think that's a larger question, too, about and so this is what ranchers are up against in the West. I mean,
it's a whole different world.
Yeah, we don't live this out here, but these are private property rights. And we talk about private property rights a lot in the context of our, urban centers and suburban sprawl areas, and there are property rights issues here. Well, this is just a different form of the same issue.
And they burned the 127 acres so that wildfires wouldn't start and destroy their private property.
Well, they were burning.
Essentially.
They argue they were burning an invasive species, which is their right, as well as to prevent wildfires. And the federal government does control burns all the time to prevent wildfires. So do they have? And then the harassment campaign in the beginning to get them to sell the land. This arguably overzealous prosecution. Do they have a point? And so long as it is nonviolent, is this a legitimate instance of civil disobedience?
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. But Dwight Hammond and his son reported to prison yesterday, and he was a little teary-eyed as he entered the barbed wire.
I'm going to jail for 5 years for 127. Seems like a bit of an overkill.
Yeah, government overreach. And this is after they've already served time in prison for burning the 127 acres. But I thought that they were just charged with arson. I didn't know that it was an act of terrorism.
Well, it's two incidents of arson that I described, but they're charged under this anti-terrorism statute that, as the trial court properly said, could never have been intended for the argument between the Hammonds and the federal government about whether it was to cover up deer poaching or it was to protect their property against an invasive species. They are either way. Let's say they're guilty. Is illegal deer poaching? That is an act of terrorism.
Sounds like a way of life out west.
And here's what Ammo Bundy said, more generally, even beyond the Hammond case about government land grabs.
Because of that refusal to sell their ranch, these federal agencies began an attack on this family.
So, well, but it's strange though too. The Hammond family is not part of this occupation, and they said, they don't want to have any part of this.
Well,
which is their business because other people are doing the work for them. But are they going to leave peacefully? Because today's the day that the federal government, the FBI agents that are near the area, are apparently or allegedly, we've been told, are going to go into that wildlife building and tell them to leave.
Well, if
that it's over, you've had your 4 days. They're in prison. Go home.
Yeah. Well,
do you think they should go home, Dan, or should they stand and fight?
Well,
we're going to David Koresh thing here, where they're going to play dental drilling music and pump that into the building.
If this should not go the way of Waco or Ruby Ridge, that would be a colossal mistake on the part of the federal government, in addition to apparently colossal mistakes that have been made to this point. Vin in St. Charles.
Hey, the guys occupying the building there, the only mistake they made is they didn't call themselves Muslim. If they would have done that, we would be like flying in relief flights, with water and food and taking care of them. But they're not Muslims. They're probably, Obama thinks they're Christians, so they should be destroyed.
Thanks for the call, Vin. Phil on the northwest side.
Hi, guys. Just curious, when did the government buy up all this land? Was that during the Clinton years? And also, how many times have these incidents happened during Republican administrations?
Thanks for the call, Phil. Sean in Elmwood Park.
First of all, I'm so confused. So these people occupying vacant public buildings, in a sign of protest against the usurpation of private land. Unless you've ever been a victim of eminent domain, you don't realize how violating it is and how they're bound by nothing. So these people are terrorists. But Black Lives Matter seizing private businesses, shutting down privately held businesses, interfering with the flow of business and the actual, that's not terrorism. That's a protest. But this is terrorism. Because to me, you want to know what real disgusting land use of a government is? When Harry Reid and his 4 sons sell government land to Chinese investors. See, to me, that's terrorism. To me, that's a violation of the Constitution. But him and his kids, they get rich and they get lobbying jobs. These people, they get the cigar, and they get whatever the government wants to give them, and they get to shut up and sit in the corner. And if the government doesn't use that land and then sells it to a private developer, that's exactly what happened to me, by the way. You know what you get to do? You get to whistle Dixie on a radio station. You get nothing. And in the meantime, they get to keep the money.
Thanks for the call, Sean. Jay in Lowell, Indiana.
Hey, Dan, you made a good point. A lot of stuff, it just goes on out west, and we don't see it. It's a whole different way of life. However, that was about to happen out here with the Ileana Tollway, if you'll remember.
Yeah.
They were coming in, marching, wanting to take it, and it was going to go right. It wouldn't have taken my land, but I'm sure my property value would have gone down because the thing was going to go right by my house. But people better wake up because they are doing it out here. But thank God Bruce Downer got elected and put a stop to it because he said, hey, there's no money for it, which someone actually had a good idea and realized we have no money for nothing out here in Illinois.
Thanks for the call, Jay.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
More of your calls next, 312-642-5600. Here's your forecast. So plenty of sunshine today. A little bit warmer than yesterday, a high of 31 degrees. Then tomorrow, sunshine giving way to clouds, a high near the upper 30s. Travel times, here's Jim Telemonte.
Amy and Dan, the inbound Edens, a little heavy. Peterson to the junction, 20 minutes. Lake Hook to Montrose, outbound fine at 19. Kennedy, tight Cumberland and Nagle, now 22 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound still fine at 20. About Eisenhower, it's a 2-minute delay from Banheim to First Avenue. Outbound, a 2-minute delay, Austin to Des Plaines Ave. Stevenson, delay start at Pulaski, but it's just 36 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan, 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishop Ford, a tad heavy approach to Diverge. Northbound Tri-State heavy at 290. The other tollways are good. Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
Gentlemen, Dan Proft here. Every year you make New Year's resolutions, but you lack the energy and motivation to tackle them. Maybe it's caused by low T. Low testosterone levels can make you feel tired and less motivated to do the things you want to accomplish. If you've been feeling like a grumpy old man lately, it's time to get your testosterone level checked at Low T Center. It's quick, easy, and with their on-site lab, you'll know your results in minutes. I did. Plus, their services are covered by most health insurance. Low T levels can make you feel tired and irritable and can raise your cholesterol and cause weight gain. Low T Center's experienced medical staff will educate you on the benefits and the risks of testosterone replacement. Low T Center even has convenient and flexible hours, so start tackling your New Year's resolutions and call Low T Center today and tell them Dan Proft sent you. That number, 630-409-4305. That's 630-409-4305. Or go to lowtcenter.com. That's lowtcenter.com.
Christmas and the New Year are over. It's time to think a little about yourself. Maybe treat yourself to a MyPillow. I'm Joe Walsh, and I have slept better for years with MyPillow. If you've procrastinated, don't put it off. MyPillow is a premium pillow with 4 different loft levels that's customized to your individual preference. And for my listeners who use the promo code Joe, you'll get 2 MyPillows for the price of 1. It's MyPillow's best offer. It's so important. Get a great night's sleep. MyPillow helps with snoring, headaches, neck pain, insomnia, and allergies. Plus, it's washable, keeps its shape, and gives you support where you need it most. That's why it's the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation. For this 2 for the price of 1 offer, visit MyPillow.com or call 1-800-489-0201 and use that promo code Joe. Do it now, 1-800-489-0201 or online at MyPillow.com. Promo code Joe, 1-800-489-0201. one.
You can get health insurance no matter what the status of your health is. This is possible through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois with a tax-free and tax-deductible health savings account PPO plan. Hi, this is Tom Marabali, your independent representative and consumer advocate for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. I am working with a few state senators telling them that all of the Illinois government employees, which include all state, county, municipal, and city of Chicago workers, including the teacher union members, that they need these plans. Since we, the taxpayers, are paying for these expensive health insurance benefits, employees that have health savings account PPO plans could reduce the monthly premiums by approximately 40% and save hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. So call me at 630-863-3477 about my tax-free PPO health insurance plans. That's 630-863-3477, and I will give you a free monthly quote and tell you more about saving hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars with more comprehensive plans.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, we're talking about this case of civil disobedience at this wildlife refuge in Oregon. And I encourage people, and I'll tweet this at Dan Proft. I'm sure at Amy Jacobson. We'll retweet it. Read this David French piece in Nash Review Online, which really provides a lot of detail on the case. Maybe make you reconsider it after when you compare the details that French lays out as to some of the rather sketchy reports from the Washington Press Corps. There's also some questions about the U.S. Attorney for the state of Oregon, the former U.S. Attorney for the state of Oregon, who pursued this case, including the appeal of the Hammonds family sentences, Amanda Marshall, and why she stepped down as U.S. Attorney after the completion of this case.
Possible miscarriage of justice?
Well, I mean, I think that's a legitimate question and a source of inquiry. Just because you're a federal prosecutor, I mean, who watches The Watchmen? We talk about the media all the time. We should talk about, and we talk about law enforcement at the police level. What about the prosecutor? They're just human beings too. They make mistakes.
And some of them have personal agendas.
And that
watch Making a Murderer on Netflix, and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay, I will do that. Mike
There's
in the north.
Homework assignment.
Mike in the north side.
Good morning. To all those ranchers that are seizing government land and buildings out west, I would just tell them take more. Because if the FBI agents out there are anything like the ones in Chicago who haven't been able to find a thing that the Dailies and the Vaneco's done wrong, then these guys are blind, retarded, and inbred. So just take it all. Take the FBI agents hostage, tie them up, and ship them back to Obama.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
It takes a lot of courage to face your own death, but I'm glad I finally did. See, I was putting off getting life insurance to protect my family, even though I knew it was important. Then my neighbor's husband died. I watched her struggle emotionally and financially. It really made me face reality. If my husband died, how would I pay the mortgage, the car payments, or keep up the life the kids and I had? I realized I needed to get us life insurance right away. So I called AIG Direct. In less than 5 minutes, I had a quote. I was shocked at how affordable it is. Just $14 a month for $250,000 of term life coverage. I feel so much better knowing my family has protection.
Call AIG Direct right now for a free no-obligation quote. The call takes less than 5 minutes, and you can save up to 70%. Call now, 1-800-503-6673. That's 1-800-503-6673. 1-800-503-6673.
You did it. That's right. Because of your generosity and support of our annual Feed the Children campaign, we were able to reach our goal of feeding over 18,000 children this holiday season. Real families with real needs that you have helped to meet. And we especially want to thank the many business benefactors who've stepped up in a huge way. When you hear their advertisements on this station in the coming months, we encourage you to support them as a way of saying thanks for their generosity. And just because we met our goal in 2015, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Hunger is still a real challenge for thousands of families and children in our area. So please continue to support Feed the Children with a tax-deductible gift of any amount at any time. Just go to feedthechildren.org. And thanks again from all of us here at AM 560, The Answer.
AM 560, The Answer.
And coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer,
we do a status check with Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson on checking the status of Syrian refugees into this country. That's at 6:36.
And then my favorite story of the day, how you can put on some Putin. We'll explain, but first let's go back into the newsroom and say good morning to Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. Cloudy and 20 degrees. The president expected to outline steps that he will take in order to reduce gun violence when he speaks to the nation this morning around 10:40 Chicago time. He previewed those actions yesterday after a meeting with his attorney general.
For us to get our complete arms around the problem, Congress needs to act. What I asked my team to do is to see what more we could do to strengthen our enforcement and prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands.
His executive actions are expected to include requiring more gun sellers to be licensed. Officials are on the scene of a hostage standoff in DeKalb County, Georgia. Authorities say a woman, 11 children are being held inside a room where some sort of dispute took place. The woman then called 911 when an officer arrived. Men refused to open the door.
Officers observed the male subject was armed with a knife and refusing to let the children or the other adult leave the room. We backed out, notified our SWAT team. The suspect barricaded himself in the hotel room.
There are reports that children range in ages from 3 months to 17 years. Police do believe the children and a woman inside are in danger. Jittery investors are hoping for the best today when the bell rings on day 2 of trading in the new year. Dow lost 276 yesterday, but was down as much as 467 earlier in the day. The downturn began after Chinese stocks slid 7%. The wife of a country singer who went missing for more than 2 weeks says he died from hypothermia. Craig Strickland's body was discovered yesterday on the banks of Oklahoma's Caw Lake. He went missing December 27th duck hunting with a friend, whose body was discovered a day later. The former South Carolina police officer charged for the deadly shooting of a black man is out of jail on bond. Former North Charleston police officer Michael Slager faces a murder charge in the death of Walter Scott from back in April. City of Chicago paid out $5.5 million Monday to 57 people whose claims that they were tortured by police decades ago were found to be credible. Federal judge has ordered a new trial in a civil case focused on a fatal police shooting in Chicago. He tossed an April jury decision that found 2 officers were justified in the killing of Darius Pinnock during a traffic stop in 2011. And people in the state of Illinois may have to wait just a bit longer for their tax refunds this year. Illinois Department of Revenue announcing they do not anticipate releasing individual income tax refunds for the 2016 filing season until March 1st. Chicago sports, NBA tonight, Milwaukee and the Bulls in their rematch. While in the NHL, the Blackhawks take on Pittsburgh. College hardwood tonight, number 19 Butler invades DePaul. The news service of Stand Up to Cancer and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
LiveWatch helps you connect and respond up to 10 times faster in an emergency. LiveWatch has no long-term contracts. Save up to 50% off home security. Call 855-LiveWatch or visit livewatch.com.
My name is Dr. Howard. I've recommended Balance of Nature for over 15 years because of the excellent results I see in my patients. Balance of Nature doesn't make any claims of treating or curing any particular disease, but I think the results speak for themselves.
When I started on this, I stopped my blood pressure and my cholesterol medicine. My blood pressure after a week since then has been normal, and my bad cholesterol dropped 27 points in 3 weeks, and my overall cholesterol dropped like 25 points. So I'm good. So I'm not taking anything.
The top 3 New Year's resolutions are health-related. Improve your odds by getting started early with our best price of the year. Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
My name is David Hochberg, and I'm Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. That's right, I'm now Vice President of Lending at Pearl Mortgage. If you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your existing home, give me a call. I'm the same guy that's provided listeners with honest advice and outstanding customer service for the past 13 years. The only thing that's changed is where I work. When you want to refinance and pay off debt, you called me and I helped you. When your kids were purchasing their first home and you wanted to make sure they were working with a trustworthy lender, you called me and I helped them. If you would like to talk to me about a mortgage, please give me a call at 312-751-1333. That's 312-751-1333. Email me at david@pearl perldavid.com. That's David at PERLDavid.com. Or visit my website, am560david.com. 312-751-1333. Pearl Mortgage is an equal housing lender, Illinois residential mortgage licensee, 4358, licensed by DBO under California RMLA and MLS 19186. PearlMortgage.com licensing.
6:35 in our Chicago RadioDeals.com traffic center. Let's get the latest this morning with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The inbound Edens has delays from Niles Center to the junction. It's 23 minutes like Cook to Montrose, outbound fine at 19. Kennedy, slow Cumberland to Foster. 23 minutes O'Hare to downtown, outbound a delay-free 20. Not Eisenhower, slow Mannheim to Harlem. It's 34 minutes either way between Thorndale and downtown. Outbound heavy between Central and Harlem with a couple of stalls on the right side. Inbound Stevenson, 38 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound fine at 34. Ryan is 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 17 minutes, I-80 to the Murray. Bishop Ford, 19. Northbound Tri-State heavy at 290. Traffic is a service of Lead Safe America. Does your child struggle to concentrate? Pay attention. What looks like ADD or autism may actually be caused by lead poisoning. Lead is a neurotoxin. It can cause permanent brain damage. Find out how to protect your family. Go to leadsafeamerica.org. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Aircomfort.com, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Plenty of sunshine, 31. Partly cloudy and 23 overnight, and 37 tomorrow, 18 officially at O'Hare. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Fox River Periodontics, Chicagoland's specialist with dental implants. To get your smile back, visit implantsforme.com.
Your money. Find out how to keep more of it and live debt-free. Tonight on The Dave Ramsey Show, starting at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
What is up in 2016? Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. So, Amy, this story didn't get, it was reported by the Associated Press, but hasn't been part of our political discourse in the new year, and perhaps it should be. Cologne police chief condemns sex assaults on New Year's Eve. This is out of Germany. German police has described a series of sexual assaults against women in Cologne on New Year's Eve as a completely new dimension of crime. Officers received numerous complaints from women who said they had been assaulted around Cologne's main train station next to the western German city's famous cathedral. Cologne police chief said witnesses described the assaults as coming from a group of up to 1,000 men.
What?
Whose appearance indicated they were of Arab or North African origin. Some 60 criminal complaints have so far been filed, including one allegation of rape. 1,000 men.
That's a flash mob.
I think it may be a little bit more severe than a smash and grab. And, of course, Angela Merkel has been at the forefront of welcoming hundreds of thousands, at least in theory, hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees.
Mm-hmm. And so have other countries, the Netherlands, Sweden. They're all doing it, but why? There's got to be some financial gain behind it, some foreign aid behind it.
No, it's the pernicious mind effect of multicultural political correctness. That's the issue. And you'll note the countries that you didn't name, like all of the Arab countries. Mm-hmm. For more on this topic and others, we're now joined by our friend, Wisconsin U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, good morning and Happy New Year. Not a real promising start, is it?
No, it isn't. And, these issues come and go out of the news cycle, and we lose sight of them, but their importance doesn't diminish at all. And so happy to have you on the show to do a little bit of a check-in on where we are with processing, background checking, the tens of thousands of Syrian refugees that President Obama and John Kerry want to relocate to the United States. You've been kind of really writing point on this in the U.S. Senate and have educated us on the topic, telling us, that it takes, what was it, up to 2 years to vet a single person who attempts to emigrate to this country without papers?
Well, in the normal course of events, that's generally kind of on average 18 to 24 months to properly vet and fully vet somebody who's really seeking refugee status in the United States. Of course, that's a concern. President Obama's announced he's got the legal authority to do this, so he's just going to go ahead and do it. That we're going to bring in about 10,000 Syrian refugees, basically increase the number of refugees we'll be in this country by about 21% this year, and he's proposing 40-some% next year. Now, I've run a manufacturing plant. I've run a business. You increase throughput by that level, it's going to put a lot of strain on your production capabilities, your management capabilities of actually processing people. So, certainly from my standpoint, I've viewed my responsibility as trying to keep his feet to the fire to make sure they don't take any shortcuts. Now, we tried to get more stringent requirements put in the omnibus. We did increase the requirements under the visa waiver program. And right now, quite honestly, Iran's kind of screaming about it because we said that if you visited Iran in the last 5 years or you're an Iranian citizen, you cannot come into the United States without going through the full visa process and getting an interview. And they're not particularly liking that. So we were able to offer, strengthen the programs a little bit, but let's face it, President Obama's not particularly supportive of it, nor are Democrats, so we were able to do kind of minimal improvements on it. But I completely support an effort that would require at least Jay Johnson, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, to certify that all the vetting has been actually completed. We do, the CEOs do that with Sarbanes-Oxley. They have to certify that their financial statements are completely correct. Why not high government officials certify that they're actually doing their job?
What about FBI Director James Comey, who said we can't do it? We cannot do it. Is there going to be a redistribution of FBI resources to the vetting?
Well, the fact of the matter is FBI is really not charged with this task. This is really the State Department and the Department of Homeland Security. What FBI does is they offer their databases to be checked, and they keep their databases up to speed. So they're really not involved in the process. I mean, again, this kind of gets into the minutia of who actually does what. And that's really what James Comey's talking about, is there is no perfect information system. It's another thing we did strengthen in the omnibus bill is we required countries participating in the visa waiver program, which I would argue does enhance our security because we entered agreements that force them to share more information, more intelligence. For example, they're going to be checking Interpol backgrounds now of people that go through that visa waiver program. So we continue to improve our information systems, but as we just found out with the terrorist attack in San Bernardino, if you've done nothing wrong, if you're not on any of these terrorist watch lists, you don't get pinged and officials aren't notified about the problems.
So, Senator, the Syrian refugees who want to come to America, are we choosing people who already have family members that are living here?
Well, that's what I've been putting pressure on the administration to do. Listen, if you're going to bring in 10,000, let's establish criteria, and let's start with women and children relatives of Syrian American citizens that have the financial wherewithal to support them. I mean, wouldn't that make sense? Let's not bring in military-age young men. And so, again, I don't know what the administration has up their sleeves, but, hopefully they use some common sense here and they only bring people into this country that do not threaten us.
We're talking to Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who was also the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate. And so, Senator Johnson, I want to get your take on the rather rapid escalation of tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran since the mass execution of 47 suspected, or apparently, at least according to Saudi Arabia, proven enemies of the state. Yesterday, 3 Sunni-led countries joined Saudi Arabia in severing or downgrading diplomatic ties with Iran, Bahrain, Sudan, and the United Arab Emirates, certainly complicating our relationships, including with our new partner in peace, Iran, in the Middle East, isn't it?
Well, it's highly concerning. I'm afraid it was all too predictable. I'm afraid what we've seen is the strategic realignment of the Middle East, with Russia and Iran gaining a great deal more influence as America's influence wanes. And so you take a look at Saudi Arabia, you look at the other Sunni Gulf states, they're looking at the United States as not a reliable ally, not a reliable partner, not a reliable nation that will actually protect their interests as well as ours, and providing stability to the region. So now they're going alone, and it creates this type of upheaval, which is incredibly dangerous for the world.
Senator Johnson, how is this instability affecting our fight on ISIS?
Well, let's face it, what we needed is a coalition like George H.W. Bush put together in the first Gulf War. People have kind of forgotten that our coalition partners provided 250,000 troops to that effort. They paid for about 85% of it. That was a committed coalition of the willing. But we really need those Gulf states. We need those Sunni states to come and be the tip of the spear in ground forces to actually defeat ISIS and then hold the Sunni territory. And right now that's really been put in jeopardy, again, because we're not viewed as a reliable ally. So I don't know how President Obama plans on assembling the type of committed coalition of the willing that includes Sunni Arab Gulf states to actually defeat ISIS.
Switching to a domestic issue for a moment, I'm going to give you an opportunity to maybe rehabilitate your friend there, Paul Ryan, the House Speaker, and at least in the eyes of a lot of conservatives, not happy with that omnibus spending bill you referenced earlier. He said there's going to be a new effort to repeal Obamacare. This is another issue that you've taken up, particularly as it relates to Congress being treated differently and, of course, better by Obamacare than the American public writ large. Explain the new strategy to repeal Obamacare and the likelihood of efficacy.
Well, I believe what he's talking about is because Republicans in Congress actually passed the budget between the House and Senate, reconciled it, so we got that governing document. Then you can use this reconciliation procedure under the budget process to do things like repeal, most of Obamacare. The House passed their reconciliation package that repealed a lot of it. The Senate actually repealed more of it. And so I believe what he's referring to is they'll take up the Senate package, hopefully pass that. That will land on President Obama's desk. He'll just veto it, and we don't have the votes to override the veto. And so, listen, I've got a great deal of respect for Paul Ryan. I've heard people say, what happened to Paul Ryan? Let me tell you, we reelected President Obama. That's been our problem. The presidency has a great deal of power, and Republicans and conservatives better get our act together to make sure that we gain the presidency and we maintain majorities in the House and the Senate so we can actually govern it from a conservative standpoint, as opposed to allow, because of our dysfunction, Hillary Clinton become the next president of the United States. That would be disastrous for this country.
And as you say, controlling the House and the Senate so you can have a Republican president that can move an agenda, and that includes re-electing Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. So for our friends listening north of the Cheese Curtain and those from Illinois that are moving north of the Cheese Curtain, which
a lot of people are.
Happens on a daily basis, it's worth reminding people that Senator Johnson is up for re-election at 16. So good luck with that. Thanks always for coming on the show, Senator Ron Johnson, and good luck to your Packers this weekend.
Well, have a happy New Year. And my website, by the way, is ronjohnsonforsenate.com if people want to help.
All right. Very good. Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro Vote for Ron Johnson hotline.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up, how you can put your Putin on and you can smell like Vladimir Putin. Oh, yeah. There's a cologne for that. But first, let's get your forecast today. Plenty of sunshine, a high of 31 degrees. Tomorrow, some sunshine, giving way to some clouds, though, by the afternoon. A high in the upper 30s. Travel times, how's that inbound Kennedy shaping up, Jim Talamonte?
Amy, right now it's stop-and-go traffic on the Kennedy between Cumberland and Central. It's 27 minutes O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 25, it's now slow from Addison to Sayre. Edens, with delays starting at Niles Center, now 27 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 20. The Eisenhower, 35 minutes either way between Thorndale and downtown. Stevenson, delays from before Central to Kedzie. 42 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound it's clear. Ryan, 20 minutes, 95th to downtown. Mild delays at I-57 at the Bishop Fort. Northbound Tri-State, so Plainfield Road to the Hinsdale Oasis. And from 290 to North Avenue, eastbound Adams Stowaway, stop and go Beverly to Bartlett Road with a crash on the left shoulder. I'm Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
I'm Lou Dobbs, trading in overseas markets influencing action on Wall Street today. We're expecting more volatility in the crude oil market. Those stories next.
Is negative content or comments on the web affecting your personal or professional reputation? Unfavorable comments, embarrassing pictures, videos, legal documents, and bad tweets can ruin your personal life, your career, or your business. It happens a lot, and it's just not fair. But what can you do? Reputation.com can protect your good name. Get a free consultation now at 800-651-4888. That's 800-651-4888. Call right now for a free expert reputation analysis. It's easy to squash the unfair attacks with our patented system, and the analysis is absolutely free. Make the best things about you jump out in searches. Protect your personal and professional reputation, your business, and your income. Get your free reputation analysis right now. Call 800-651-4888. 800-651-4888. 800-651-4888.
We'll see whether investors are able to turn things around on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrials had its worst beginning of any year since 2008 yesterday. Action in overseas markets will likely influence trading today on Wall Street as it did yesterday. Investors nervous about pent-up selling in China. A 6-month ban against major shareholders that prevents them from selling their stock expires at the end of this week. And Wall Street investors also considering corporate developments on auto sales for the month of December. Investors in the crude market watching rising tensions in the Middle East, and we'll see whether President Obama's plans to restrict gun sales provides an added lift to the shares of gun makers Sturm Ruger and Smith & Wesson. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight at 7 and 11 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
For a long time, Turnkey IT has been providing solutions to AM 560 business owners. It's a name that you've come to know and trust. Turnkey IT takes care of your technology and has a plan that fits your company's IT budget and network needs. Interested in moving some or all of your business to the cloud? Turnkey IT can migrate your network to Microsoft's Office 365. Need someone to call when you can't print, have a lost file, or need tech support? Turnkey IT's got you covered. Offsite backup? Check. On-site support? Check. Help desk support? Check. Turnkey IT staff is professional, friendly, punctual, and will solve all of your technical problems immediately and work even after normal business hours, all for a fixed monthly rate. Turnkey IT knows your network is truly the heartbeat of your company, so focus on your business and leave the technical stuff to the pros. Visit turnkey.pro today for a plan that fits your needs. That's turnkey.pro.
Hi, my name is Ed Bryant. You may have heard Dan Proft talk about me as Pastor Ed Bryant at thegunsafetyguy.com. I teach gun safety and defense classes, but they can't save us from our own mortality. So as a pastor, I teach the class that means the most to me and makes everything else look trivial. I'm talking about my class on basic biblical Christianity. We take a subject-by-subject tour of the Bible and examine such questions as, is there a God and how do we know? And what distinguishes Christianity from other faiths and from just being spiritual? And the main question, how can this Jesus born in Bethlehem really deal with our mortality? We connect the birth of Christ with his death and resurrection and ultimately face the question, is it true? Sign up for an introductory session on Thursday evening, January 21st at St. Timothy Lutheran Church in Lombard. For more info, go to sttimothy.org and click on the Basic Biblical Christianity icon. Again, that's SAINT Timothy.org.
You want more than just the headlines? Find out what's going on and what it means with me, Dennis Prager, this morning at 11, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Can't you smell that smell? Dan, what cologne do you wear?
I smother myself in whale blubber.
Actually, I don't ever think I've smelled your cologne. Because I don't think you wear it in the mornings, right?
No.
You save it for the evening hours, you know?
I just go with my natural scent.
Well, women think it's important for men to smell strong and to, erode confidence. And cologne helps do that. Just ask Champ.
I'm a mess without you. I miss you so damn much. I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh. I miss your scent. I miss your musk.
I get that a lot. It's quite pungent.
Yes, it is quite pungent. Yes. So now there's a new cologne inspired by the one and only Vladimir Putin. It is called Leaders Number One, believe it or not, because, he's a strong leader. And it consists of black currant and fir cones and a hint of lemon. And apparently it is flying off the shelves. Women love when their men wear Vladimir Putin Leaders Number One cologne.
Yeah, it's all merchandising these days.
Well, you know what? It comes in a sleek black bottle featuring a profile of, guess what, Russian president's head and the words inspired by Vladimir Putin. Now, it can be yours for $82.20. That's, the conversion of 6,000 rubles into American dollars. And apparently you can buy it online too. So I think we should buy a bottle and send it to President Obama.
What a country. That cologne would also cause President Obama to back down. He won't just back down to Putin. He would let that cologne invade the Baltics and do nothing.
Yeah, but apparently women like the fragrance even more than men do. And the perfume, if that's not enough, you can buy a Putin T-shirt, a mug, a refrigerator magnet, an iPhone cover, and my favorite, a Vladimir Putin calendar.
How about a casket?
What cologne you going to go with? London Gentleman or... Wait. No. Hold on. Blackbeard's Delight. No. She gets a special cologne. It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries. Yep. It's made with bits of real panther. So you know it's good. It's quite pungent. Oh, yeah. Ooh, it's a formidable scent. It stings the nostrils. In a good way. Yeah. Brian, I'm going to be honest with you. That smells like pure gasoline.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
This is Dan Proft with an Upstream Idea, brought to you in part by the Illinois Opportunity Project. 97, that's the percentage of Chicago Teachers Union members who voted yes in a recent mock vote. Yes, they voted. They are prepared to go out on strike for the second time in 4 years. The annual average CPS teacher salary is just under $80,000. And that's before you include their health insurance benefits and guaranteed 7-figure pensions. The bankrupt, junk-rated Chicago Public Schools spend more than $15,000 annually per pupil, and yet 75% of 4th and 8th graders are neither proficient in reading nor math. This in a system of nearly 400,000 students. So who's the bad guy here? Is it the teachers union or the mayor's office? Yes, there are no white hats in the story of central planners from City Hall fighting with the central planners from the teachers union over who gets to be the lead central planner at CPS. If the teachers strike, they deserve to be unlocked from their jobs. CPS students deserve access to schools that will give them the opportunity to earn an education that sets them on a course for success in life. The only way that happens is if the adults inside CPS, the parents, and the adults outside CPS, state political leaders, change the flow of money away from central planners and to families so that they may make the same choices for their children that Tiny Dancer did for his kids matriculating at the University of Chicago Lab School. For more ideas like this, visit upstream-ideas.com. I'm Dan Proft.
I wish this bag under my eye would just go away. Hey, if that sounds like you every day, you're not alone. Bags and puffiness under the eyes are a problem for millions of American men and women until now. Introducing the new Genucell serum with plant stem cell technology from Chamonix. I use it. I love it. My sister uses it as well. Her skin is glowing. It's firm. She looks terrific. And with its instant effects, which is a separate product, you will see results in the first 12 hours or your money back. They guarantee it. So call now and save big on Genucell's risk-free introductory offer. 800-525-8323. 800-525-8323. Call now and you'll get the amazing Esotique face cream as a special gift simply by placing your order. That number again, 800-525-8323. 800-525-8323.
Hey, if you need to sell your home in Chicagoland, Sean Hannity here with some very important facts that you need to know. Now, 40% of homes hitting the market in Chicago are not selling. Now, those are horrible odds. You need to call Saul Z and the Z team based right here in Chicagoland. Now, Saul sells a home on average every 24 hours and attracts hundreds of buyers every month locally, nationally, and internationally.
I know you watched last night. I want to know
what the top 110 teams out of 1.2 million agents in the U.S. Now, Saul Z guarantees to sell your home in 29 days at a price and deadline that you agree to, or he will buy your home or he'll sell it for free. Plus, working with Saul is also risk-free. After 24 hours, if he's not doing his job, you can walk away free and clear. Just call the agent I would call if I needed to sell my home and lived in Chicagoland. Call Saul now at 888-346-0666. That's 888-346-0666. Or go online at callsaul.net. That's callsaul.net.
What would you do if you could speak Spanish? Have a barbecue with the Spanish-speaking family next door?
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sí.
Swap stories with locals on a Costa Rican rainforest safari?
Ah, mira, es maravilloso.
Order your favorite Tex-Mex in Spanish?
Quisiera un burrito de carne, por favor.
Once-in-a-lifetime adventures to everyday moments. If you've always wanted to learn Spanish, to have real conversations with native speakers, now you can. Because Rosetta Stone is letting everyone who calls try an absolutely free demo of its powerful language learning program. Call now, 1-800-771-3387. Fully immersing you in the Spanish language, Rosetta Stone is fast, fun, and easy. Learn on your computer or iPad. Practice on the go with your smartphone at your own pace and at your own convenience. If you've always wanted to speak Spanish, this is your chance with the fastest, easiest way to learn a language guaranteed. But don't wait. Call Rosetta Stone now for your free demo. 1-800-771-3387. That's 1-800-771-3387.
WIND Chicago News Times, 7 o'clock.
What he's about to do on gun control is
well within my legal authority.
And he says these are executive actions
the overwhelming majority of the American people, including gun owners, support and believe in.
Victims of gun violence will be at the White House today as he unveils these actions that would expand background checks to guns sold online and at gun shows and flea markets without Congress's approval. Now, Republicans on Capitol Hill are critical, and so are ones running for president. Fox's Jeff Manasso is live in Missouri Valley, Iowa.
Ted Cruz kicked off his Cruise into Caucus bus tour, calling President Obama's intentions on gun control an illegal abuse of power.
President Obama and Hillary Clinton continually focus on stripping the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens instead of fighting the bad guys.
And Cruz is not standing alone. Chris Christie, Donald Trump, and Marco Rubio also critical of the president's looming executive action, among other things. Meantime, Cruz wrapped up day one of his 6-day, 28-bus stop tour with a packed crowd here in Missouri Valley, Iowa, late last night, beginning day two just north of us. Later this morning, Dave.
Jeff, the two ranchers who got extra prison time in an arson case have surrendered, but the protest their case generated endures in Oregon. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has this live.
Schools are closed for the week in Burns, Oregon, out of an abundance of caution, and Harney County Sheriff David Ward has asked the group to go home.
Our goal is to work together and restore calm and regular services for the people of that community.
The anti-government activists are holding a remote wildlife reserve. Now, a spokesman for the protesters say they want an investigation into claims the two ranchers were intimidated by the federal government. Federal authorities don't seem to be in a hurry to end the takeover. The group says they're prepared to stay for years, Dave.
Tanya, it's a somber day in France, with ceremonies in Paris at 3 sites a year after Islamic terrorists attacked a satirical newspaper, Charlie Hebdo, and then a kosher supermarket, killing 17 people in 3 days. This is Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
Fair skies, 20 degrees, 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. City of Chicago paying out $5.5 million to 57, whose claims that they were tortured by police decades ago were found to be credible. Most victims receiving checks totaling $100,000. The new head of the Chicago Independent Police Review Authority is making some changes. Sharon Fairley announced yesterday the work of the agency will be more independent.
My goal is to put plans in motion that can enhance the agency's ability to conduct quality, thorough, and timely investigations into officer-involved shootings and other complaints of misconduct, while also rebuilding Chicagoans' trust in the agency.
Fairley also appointed several new leaders of the IPRA, including a chief of staff and chief investigator. Governor Rauner says he's disappointed in the way Mayor Emanuel has handled police shooting cases, and voters should have the right to recall a sitting mayor, as AM 560's David Stewart reports.
Governor Rauner says pending investigations prevent him from saying much about the Laquan McDonald case and the other police shootings, but he did say,
I am very disappointed in the mayor and in the state's attorney for Cook County. Very disappointed.
Rauner says he would sign a bill allowing Chicago voters to recall their mayor, though he said such a law would only apply to future mayors. Meanwhile, the family of police shooting victim Betty Jones is suing the city, and in another case, a federal judge has ruled that a city attorney hid evidence in the trial of 2 officers for the fatal 2013 shooting of Darius Pinex. David Stewart, Chicago.
Crews resumed their search efforts later this morning for the man who went missing in a frigid lake in southern Wisconsin. Wisconsin DNR Warden Jason Roberts says crews ended their search Monday evening for that 4th member of a 4-person crew that went out on a boat, but will resume this morning.
Cold weather, wind, water temperatures that are probably around 34 degrees. We're on the verge of making ice out here.
The 4 Illinois men were reported missing Sunday. Authorities in East Troy say the young men were staying with friends at a lake house and were reported missing after footprints leading to the boathouse were discovered in the snow and a canoe spotted overturned in the lake. A Chicago church will stay open for 21 straight days to offer people a safe haven from violence in their communities. The New Life Covenant Church will be open 24 hours a day, like tutoring, movies, and more. Church officials inviting anyone from the community to come in. The church began accepting donations to help with the effort that began at midnight Sunday. Chicago sports. Bulls say an MRI shows no damage to the right knee of point guard Derrick Rose. NBA tonight, Milwaukee will take on Chicago while the Blackhawks are at Pittsburgh. The news service of the Foundation for a Better Life. Mr. Rogers passed along friendship, hoping we would too. Friendship, pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
The weather in Chicago is cold. The weather in Los Cabos, Mexico is warm and sunny. AM 560 wants to send you to Los Cabos with Dan and Amy this April. Enter to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Secrets Porto Los Cabos Golf and Spa Resort, courtesy of Apple Vacations. The only way to enter to win is through the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. So download the mobile app and enter to win a trip to Los Cabos.
What would an extra $250 a month mean to you? For some, it's a little financial breathing room. For others, it's a car payment, a home repair, or help with college tuition. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I've got some great news if you're looking to save money on your mortgage. All it takes is a simple phone call to Quicken Loans at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Folks who refinance with HARP can save an average of $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. Our home loan experts fully understand the HARP guidelines, and they'll walk you through our streamlined process. And for 6 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equalizing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
7:06 in our ChicagoRadioDeals.com traffic center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. On the inbound Edens Expressway, traffic is slow from Toohey to the junction. It's 28 minutes from Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 20. Inbound Kennedy, 29 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 27. Inbound Eisenhower, looking at 36 minutes either way between Thorndale and downtown. Inbound that time just ticked up. It's 40 minutes from Thorndale to the Loop. The delays are between Manheim and Harlem. Stevenson, 42 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, outbound clear. The Rhine is 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 17 minutes, I-80 to the merge, Bishop 420. Lakeshore Drive still fine. Northbound Tri-State heavy from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis, 290 to North Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway slow busy to the Des Plaines Oasis. Reagan Tollway's fine. Veterans Memorial slow 63rd to the Reagan Tollway and Butterfield to Roosevelt. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560. The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the AirComfort.com Weather Center. AirComfort.com, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Today, a full day of sunshine, high 31. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 23. Tomorrow, some sun will give way to clouds with a high 36, and cloudy at night, low 31. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
18 at O'Hare, 22 along the lakefront. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Market Overdrive with Carla Mina. 2 power hours of real estate trends, secrets, and advice heard every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m.
Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Call it the sprint to the starting line. After all those months of rising and falling fortunes, we're now just 28 days from the first nominating contest of the 2016 race for president.
Below freezing on the road in Iowa, Ted Cruz plays a hot hand in the lead, but not a lot.
It's still between you and Trump.
Today, kicking off trips to 28 counties in 6 days.
How the hell can she do that when she's got one of the great women abusers of all time sitting at her house?
I've adopted a New Year's resolution. I'm going to let him live in his alternative reality, and I'm not going to respond.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I'll tell you what, Amy, last year, the year of 2015, it was tough to be more quotable than Donald Trump. But one man accomplished it.
Your guy.
One man accomplished it by uniquely characterizing the feline quality of the President of the United States. That man is Fox News military analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, who said in a conversation with Stuart Varney these words.
I know you watched last night. I want to know, what were you saying to the TV as the president was speaking? What was your commentary as the president's speech unfolded?
Well, first of all, he keeps speaking about we can't give in to our fears. Don't be afraid. Look, Mr. President, we're not afraid. We're angry. We're pissed off. We're furious.
Yes.
We want you to react. We want you to do something. You're afraid. I mean, this guy is such a total pussy. It's stunning.
Yes. Yeah. Very nice. Nicely done. Succinct, to the point, provocative, profound. Now,
I want to know if he got in trouble for saying that. Or was he applauded like we just applauded?
I believe the truth is an absolute defense. Lieutenant Colonel Peters is an accomplished military officer, foreign area officer, specializing in Russia and surrounding states. He's also published 6 books, but I'm willing to call him America's von Clausewitz just because of what he said to Stuart Varney. And we're pleased to have Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst, join us now. Lieutenant Colonel Peters, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, Dan, Amy, glad to speak with you. I have to make 2 points. First, I have to apologize yet again to all the members of the SPCA for insulting cats. I like cats, folks. It's really kittens are lovely. Please don't hold that against me. Slip of the tongue. Won't do that again.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you doubling down on that comment.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Well, let's talk a little bit of.
Well, what about my second point?
I'm sorry. That was point number one.
You might say the P word against you.
Point number two. Excuse me.
No, just say life is unfair, and I'm going to give you an illustration of how unfair life is. I'm speaking to you from the Virginia foothills of the Blue Ridge, just the foothills. It is colder here this morning than in Chicago. Now that just isn't right.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe Rahm Emanuel's at least heating up the atmosphere for you.
Well, that doesn't seem to be consistent with the greatest threat this nation faces, which is global warming. Yeah. Okay, so on to more serious matters worthy of your accomplishments and intellect. Let's start in the Middle East and the escalating confrontation between our partner in peace, Iran, with $150 billion in their pocket that's burning a hole in their pockets, if they have pockets, and Saudi Arabia, 3 Sunni states joining Saudi Arabia in terms of severing or reducing diplomatic ties to Iran. This seems to be a real problem because doesn't this have the potential to incentivize nuclear proliferation in the region? The Sauds know what we did with Iran, and I assume the House of Saud is not going to be outgunned by the Iranians.
No, that's fair because the House of Saud also paid for the Pakistani bomb, and we know that they were behind it. So they've got nuclear connections. They could, in theory, become a nuclear power even before Iran if they chose to go that route. But what you're seeing here although the Middle East problems are homegrown problems, but they are exacerbated by our actions and inactions. And President Obama and his familist, John Kerry, have bound themselves so closely to this grotesque nuke deal with Iran. I mean, they're like little children clutching their security blankets or a ragged teddy bear. They just won't let go. And that has paralyzed our foreign policy in the Middle East toward Iran and toward our allies. And so we're becoming mere spectators. And that's one of the reasons the Saudis are acting so aggressively. Now, the reason the Saudis executed Nimr al-Nimr, the Shia cleric, Saudi Arabia is overwhelmingly Sunni, they executed a Shia cleric accused of sedition, of inciting violence against the Saudi monarchy. And they did it for 2 reasons. One, because they feel like they can't trust us anymore. They've got to show they're strong themselves. But also, there's a dynastic issue. The relatively new King Solomon's not yet secure on the throne. The succession's in question. So you've got to see the domestic politics. But the upshot is that this isn't a one-off event. This is one more stage or phase in the devolution, the downward spiral of the Middle East. And what we are seeing, Dan, is a new form of world war within the Islamic world. But the Islamic world spans much of the globe now, with at least minority populations, and it's Sunni versus Shia at the macro level. Now, the Shia are only 15% of the world's population of Muslims, but they're heavily concentrated around the Persian Gulf and in Iraq and certainly in Iran, Persia. So we're seeing this great world war within Islam, but within that, you're seeing proxy wars, civil wars, various forms of terrorism, and it's just getting worse. The Iranians are now going to double down in Iraq and Syria. The Saudis will try to respond. They'll double down in Yemen. And when the only thing we can be hopeful about in a dark way right now is that it's unlikely that Iran and Saudi Arabia will go to direct war with each other in the near future simply because they'd rather fight on other people's soil.
But do you think eventually down the line, though, that this will boil over into a conflict?
It certainly could. And when you look at it logically, you say, well, no, it won't because they all have too much to lose. But wars often start by accident, by miscalculations, by misjudgment, by a rogue operation. The most influential man of the 20th century was probably Gavrilo Princip, the terrorist who shot the Austrian Archduke in Sarajevo in 1914.
Yeah.
And he changed history, that one man with one bullet. And so that's the kind of thing that we have to worry about in the Middle East, sort of what you call the Black Swan event.
What do you think the chances are that the al-Nimr execution could be tantamount to the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand?
Well, I don't think so. But again, there are so many moving parts, to use another cliche, that we can't predict with certainty. But I think the likeliest scenario is continued devastation in Syria, continued devastation in Yemen, continued fighting in Iraq, proxy battles elsewhere, terrorism. The Iranians, again, you're right, this could snowball or collapse into a war, whatever term you want to use. But the Saudis don't want it because despite all the hundreds of billions they spent on military equipment over the decade, buying largely from us, they've got great equipment, but their military is poorly trained, poorly motivated, and they're bogged down in Yemen right now, which is a sideshow war. They can't even master that. So they don't want to take on Iran, which is much more militarily capable, even though the equipment's not as good. The Iranians don't want a direct war with the Saudis because they think that's a red line that even Obama would have to respond to, and they don't want – they're doing quite – Iran's doing great right now. They're on a roll in the Middle East, and they don't want the U.S. military confronting them. So both sides have a lot to lose. But, again, as you wisely observed, both of you, these things can just spin out of control.
Well, and Iran's ally, Russia, has also been emboldened to go after Saudi Arabia. Perhaps it has something to do with Saudi Arabia unwilling to reduce its supply of oil on the world market, because that certainly negatively impacts the Iranian and Russian economies. And perhaps it just has to do with Putin's revanchism into perhaps the Baltics. Where does Russia fit in to the understanding of the region that we're discussing?
Well, Russia doesn't understand the region. We don't either, certainly. But Putin is a brilliant man, a great strategist, but he's making the classic Westerner's mistake of seeing the Middle East solely in terms of realpolitik when it's really the realm of emotion. The Middle East is not the realm of logic, even though the Persians did invent chess. So I think when you look at Putin, he has made a mistake long-term, short-term fine, long-term by backing the Shia, Iran, the Alawite government related to Shia in Syria, the Shia government in Baghdad. So he's on a roll short-term in the Middle East. But long-term, he's alienating the Sunni powers who are the majority of the population and ultimately control the wealth. With Putin, I'd say that what you have to worry about is the first month of the next president's administration in the U.S., because I think that's when the Baltics are going to be threatened. He's not going to do it this year. He's got still a lot of unresolved business in Ukraine. But I think probing the Baltics could be the first test of the will of the next U.S. president. But just to spin back to the Middle East, President Obama's nuke deal with Iran is so bad that even if it turned out that he was right and this will stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, it's largely irrelevant because it is so empowered. It has so empowered Iran in every other sphere. Iran has a blank check. They can do whatever they want. They're going to get between $100 and $150 billion, but that's the least of it. The most important thing for them is Obama is clinging to this deal so much that the U.S. is not going to confront Iran unless they invade Saudi Arabia, which would be hard for them to do. And so they're running wild in Iraq. They're running wild in Syria. They've got Saudi Arabia tied down in Yemen. They control Hezbollah. They're working with Hamas. I mean, Iran is, wherever you look on the map, where it seems the United States is having some military success, as in Ramadi, the ultimate beneficiary is going to be Iran. Iran controls the Baghdad government that Obama in 2010 abandoned to the Shia minority controlled by Iran. Iran now is allied, and Putin are allied, supporting the Syrian government of Bashar al-Assad. And Iran, most of which, the majority of the population of Iran is Persian, they are on their way, Iran is on its way to building a new Persian empire from western Afghanistan stretching west all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. It would be the greatest empire that Persians have controlled in 2,500 years.
He is Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst. Colonel Peters, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your insights. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for your patience with my monologue.
No,
excellent.
Excellent.
And informative. Thank you.
Thanks so
much.
much.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hope to talk to you again soon.
The newest and most exciting of all the James Bond thrillers. Step on it. This Bond tops them all. Roger Moore is Ian Fleming's James Bond 007. In Obama, racing across the screen with thrills and excitement.
Actions speak louder than words.
We want you to do something. You're afraid. I mean, this guy is such a total f***y. It's stunning.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Plenty of sunshine today, a high of 31 degrees. And then tomorrow, some sunshine and clouds by the afternoon, but warmer, hopefully warm enough to cut through that sidewalk and get the ice gone. A high of 37 degrees. Any problems on the roadways? Here's Jim Telemonte.
There are, Amy. No cutting through westbound Washington and River Forest. There's a crash there, and the westbound side of Washington is closed from Gale to Thatcher. Tri-State southbound has delays in the Gurnee area from before 132 to before Washington and Gurnee. A crash there in the left lane. Northbound 294 has delays from the Stevenson to the Hinsdale Oasis from the Eisenhower to North Avenue. Eastbound Adams Tollway stop and go. Roselle to 53. Then Arlington Heights Road to the Des Plaines Oasis with a stall in the right lane. Edens, 21 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound 23. The Kennedy, 31 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, outbound 27. The Eisenhower runs 40 minutes. Thorndale to the Loop, outbound 34. The Stevenson, 44 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. It's fine outbound. The Ryan is 19 minutes. 95th to downtown. Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
The weather outside is getting cold, but you know where it's going to be warm and sunny for the next 5 months? You guessed it, Los Cabos, Mexico. That's where we're headed, April 2nd through the 9th, Saturday to Saturday. We'll be staying at the beautiful Secrets Puerto Los Cabos Golf and Spa Resort. It's an all-inclusive, all-suites resort that opened in December of 2013. The rooms are well-appointed. This resort has everything. 8 restaurants, 4 bars, 24-hour-a-day room service, no children, which I love. The resort has 2 sparkling pools and access to 3 miles of pristine beaches. It's adjacent to the resort are 2 9-hole golf courses designed by Jack Nicklaus and Greg Norman. So join us in Cabo. Get more information and book your trip today by visiting 560theanswer.com. Keyword escape. The price that Apple Vacation has secured for us is incredible and exclusive only to us. So don't miss out. This trip sells out every year. Visit 560theanswer.com, keyword escape.
And I haven't done this trip yet, but I did get some inquiries from listeners, so I just wanted to respond. Marcus Brown, our program director, he has agreed to keep his shirt on the entire trip. So you don't have to worry about that this year. So if that's just a little bit more incentive
Well, people
to
were
consider
wondering
joining us
about
again.
what G-string you're going to be wearing.
Yeah, it's something tasteful. But, I like an even tan. Right now, when you download the AM 560 The Answer mobile app, you can register for your chance to win an all-expense-paid trip to Secrets Los Cabos, Mexico with us, courtesy of Apple Vacations. Just click on the Enter to Win banner to register. Contest ends January 29th at 9 a.m. So you got to download that AM 560 The Answer mobile app and register for your chance to win an all-expense-paid trip.
Good luck.
Everywhere you go, the threat looms. It follows you no matter what you do. The longer you avoid the IRS and the financial difficulties you're going through, the closer they get to you. John DeWatt of Thinking Outside the Box Law Firm can help you end the feeling of being hunted by the IRS. If you've avoided taxes or could benefit from the life-saving assistance of bankruptcy, it's time you call John DeWatt. This is an attorney who is willing to take on the federal government on your behalf. He has worked to discharge thousands of dollars in penalties, and he can help you settle your debts once and for all. Call 888-777-4193. Let the hunters become the hunted. Let John DeWatt of Thinking Outside the Box Law Firm deal with the IRS personally. Call John for your own relief plan. 888-777-4193 or online at thinkingoutsidetheboxlaw.com. That's thinkingoutsidetheboxlaw.com.
I'm Lex, CEO of Balance of Nature. At Balance of Nature, we believe in real communication. Whether you call into the office or hear a success story on the radio, you can be sure it's real, unsolicited, and unscripted conversation.
There were times I was finding myself almost falling asleep at the wheel, that I had to pull over. That's the first thing I noticed, that hasn't happened since I've been taking Balance of Nature. I'm in sales, so I do a lot of walking during the day that would tire me out. I'm not as fatigued. I feel good.
The top 3 New Year's resolutions are health-related. Improve your odds by getting started early with our best price of the year. Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy. Amy, you alerted me to this article, this study in the Journal of Economic Psychology. I'm not an avid reader of that like you are.
Yeah, and I gave you a copy. I put a copy on your desk and then handed you a copy of this survey, which I don't agree with. But the premise was...
I don't agree with the result. Well,
no,
okay,
I don't,
but the results are the results.
Yeah, and the question was who performs better under pressure,
now,
men or women?
Now, point of order, I mean, as Theodore Dalrymple has said, improved sewers have contributed more to the advance of Western civilization than psychology. When you combine it with economics,
You know what, Dan? I was thinking the same exact thing.
Were you thinking
I
that?
mean, really.
It's weird. We're on the same wavelength. So here's what the experiment sought to do is understand the time pressure.
Mm-hmm. And they took 220 students, 110 men and 110 women, and they gave them the task of affecting under time pressure.
Well, they took an exam,
yes.
right? Exam under no time pressure, and exam under time pressure.
And
exam under time pressure had a substantial negative impact on women's performance on the exam. Exam taken under time pressure had no statistically significant performance impact on the performance of men on the exam.
So the bottom line, males are not affected by time pressure.
Right.
And we apparently are.
Which is why right now, thanks to you, we're over our time.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The most recent U.S. Supreme Court decision on the Affordable Care Act made one thing certain. We will all have to deal with this ever-changing law until at least 2017. If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. That's right, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 20-year licensed broker who's been educating AM 560 listeners on the Affordable Care Act for the last 5 years.
Thanks, Dan. If you have a pre-existing condition, a canceled plan, or your premium increased, now's the time to get covered. 2016 open enrollment begins on November 1st and ends on January 31st. During this 90-day window, you cannot be denied coverage. Depending on your income, you may find a more affordable plan. The new healthcare law is very complicated, and you do need guidance. It costs you nothing to use a broker, so why not tap into my expertise?
Thanks, Steve. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Mick Dumke from the Chicago Sun-Times joins us to talk about those emails that were released and when Rahm knew about the Laquan McDonald video at 7:37.
And there's a new adult camp you might want to sign up for. We'll explain. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Outside 21 degrees as dawn begins to break over Chicago. President Obama will tell the nation later today how he intends to reduce gun violence. The president expected to outline his executive actions to require more gun sellers to get a license and limit the ability of criminals and mentally unstable people to get a gun. Yesterday, the president said the recommendations are within his legal authority.
For us to get our complete arms around the problem, Congress needs to act. What I asked my team to do is to see what more we could do to strengthen our enforcement and prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands.
The president has repeatedly criticized Congress for not being able to institute what he calls common sense gun reform. Officials are on the scene of a hostage standoff in DeKalb County, Georgia.
Officers observed the male subject was armed with a knife and refusing to let the children or the other adult leave the room. We backed out, notified our SWAT team.
Police say the children and a woman inside are believed to be in some sort of danger. There are, as many as 11 children being held inside that motel. A series of El Nino-generated storms gathering steam over the Pacific. They're expected to hit landfall in Northern California, and flood watches there have been put up for several rural areas slammed by wildfires last year. Jittery investors are hoping for the best when the bell rings on the second day of trading in the new year on Wall Street. The Dow lost 276 yesterday. MoneyAnswers.com economic analyst Jordan Goodman says there may be another problem impacting the markets today.
The Iran-Saudi Arabia clash, where they're closing each other's embassies, potentially going to get into a war in the Middle East, would be a very bad thing, too.
The downturn began after Chinese stocks slid 7%. City of Chicago Law Department says one of its lawyers accused by a federal judge of concealing evidence in a civil case regarding a fatal police shooting has resigned. Statement from the department says Jordan Marsh submitted his resignation on Monday. Judge Edmund Chang criticized Marsh, saying he intentionally concealed important evidence during that civil trial that ended last year, with jurors finding two officers were justified in the killing of Darius Pinnix during a 2011 traffic stop. Crews resumed their search efforts today for a man missing in a frigid lake in southern Wisconsin. Wisconsin DNR Warden Jason Roberts says crews ended their search Monday evening after finding a third man. They'll resume their work this morning, searching for the fourth man missing. The four men from Illinois were reported missing on Sunday. And as water levels drop on the flooded Mississippi and Sangamon rivers, they're still rising on the Illinois River south of Peoria and along the Wabash River in southeastern Illinois. Chicago sports. Bears will stick with quarterback Jay Cutler next season, they say. Tonight, the Bulls may have Derrick Rose as they take on Milwaukee. In the NHL, the Blackhawks take on Pittsburgh. The news, a service of Lead Safe America. More than 1 in 3 American kids has lead in their blood. No level of lead is safe. Lead poisoning causes learning disabilities and behavioral disorders. Has your child been tested? Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org. 7:33 is our time. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Cornerstone National Bank believes trust, service, and relationship is the foundation of a business banking partnership. Cornerstone National Bank and Trust Company, where you belong. Visit cornerstonenb.com. Member FDIC.
Hi, this is Shalom Klein of Get Down to Business, the show for small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Powered by Tandem HR. So mom and dad, imagine that after saving for years to send your child to college, you discover that you did not save enough. Or perhaps you find out that your student did not make the best career decision before choosing their college or major. That's expensive in a couple of ways. Number one, as you might imagine, your student will need to take extra courses. Cha-ching! Or switch to a different college. Cha-ching, cha-ching! And two, for the student, it's emotionally expensive to not know what you plan to do with your life and why you're away at college in the first place. For the best outcome, Everett Wealth Solutions recommends getting advice from a fiduciary advisor with college funding knowledge. A fiduciary represents you, not a financial institution. They will get to know you and the complete financial picture of your life. For more tips, advice, and stories of entrepreneurial successes, listen to Get Down to Business with me, Shalom Klein, heard Sunday evenings at 6. Your Business Minute of the Day is brought to you by Everett Wealth Solutions.
Once a man reaches a certain age, they're constantly told to get routine checkups to be sure they get the most from their health. With today's resources, it's now easier than ever, instead of waiting until it's too late. Associated Urological Specialists understands that. They know you need the assurance of having the very best services available to cover your bases. They also know that no two cases are alike. Providing medical and surgical urological specialties is one thing, but clinical numbers and research are just a part of making the right decision for you, personally. At Associated Urological Specialists, there's a full suite of specialists that execute full-service treatment. From diagnosis to procedures and everything else, they'll create options and mesh seamlessly into your daily routine. Let this message be the one that frees you to focus on your health now and in the future. Visit auspecialists.com today. That's auspecialists.com or call 708-608-2195. That's 708-608-2195.
You may think being totally blind is the greatest challenge I face, but actually, it's the fact that I'm often wide awake at 3 a.m. and struggling to stay awake in the middle of the day. This is called Non-24, and it affects up to 70% of people who are totally blind, like me. It makes just getting through the day a real struggle. Learn more about Non-24 by calling 855-856-2424 or visiting learnmorenon24.com.
Sponsored by Vanda Pharmaceuticals.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas. Best beans, best roast, best coffee.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads at our ChicagoRadioDeals.com traffic center with Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. The Tri-State Tollway has southbound delays in Gurnee from before 132 to before Washington, with a crash now on the left shoulder. Northbound 294 is slow between the Stevenson and 31st, and from around the Reagan Tollway to 290. Delays on the eastbound Adams Tollway, Roselle to 53, and Arlington Heights Road to the Des Plaines Oasis with a stall in the right lane. Eden's inbound 21 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose outbound 23. Kennedy 31 minutes, O'Hare to downtown outbound 27. The Eisenhower 45 minutes, Thorndale to the Loop outbound 34. Stevenson 44 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. Lakeshore Drive northbound, stop and go Wilson to Lawrence with a rollover crash in the left lane. Southbound delays are from Bryn Mawr to Lawrence and Irving Park to Fullerton. Traffic service of the Foundation for a Better Life. Hi, neighbor. Mr. Rogers passed along friendship, hoping we would too. Friendship. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the aircomfort.com Weather Center. Air Comfort, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Plenty of sunshine today, high near 31. Currently, a sunrise over Chicago, 22 degrees. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Secure Retirement Radio with Raj Shah. Sunday mornings at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Let freedom ring this afternoon at 2 with Sean Hannity, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, we got to get Tiny Dancer. We got to play that more. A little Elton John. Things are not going well for Tiny Dancer. It sort of seems like the death of 1,000 cuts could be his fate. Yesterday, Governor Ronner saying that if that LaShawn Ford bill the recall legislation, makes it to his desk, he will sign it.
I am very disappointed in the mayor and in the state's attorney for Cook County. Very disappointed.
He sounds like an adult, scolding a child. I'm very disappointed because I sometimes am very disappointed in my boys. But it seemed to take that tone, like the father-son tone there.
Well, I mean...
little verbal slap.
Children could hardly do worse running the city of Chicago than the crew that we have in there now. And, every day there's a new story, whether on the civil side or the criminal side. This story in the Sun-Times about Gloria Pinnock, her son Darius, who was killed by Chicago police in 2011. Yesterday, federal judge ordering a new trial in her civil lawsuit, a wrongful death case, over the case after finding misconduct on behalf of city attorneys. They didn't turn over evidence they were required to turn over in discovery, so there's going to be a new trial in that case. The city attorney in question has since resigned, so it seems like all these top-shelf appointees and legal and political flacks around Rahm Emanuel, not so top shelf after all. Barbara Byrd Bennett, Gary McCarthy, etc. For more on this, and also to answer the question based on some release of emails, not complete release of emails, because Rahm's not exactly Mr. Transparency, as we know.
Yeah, his comments were redacted heavily.
And they're still pending FOIA requests and suits for him to turn over emails and other communications that have nothing to do with the Laquan McDonald case, but have much to do with his operation of city government. But for more on this, and to answer the question, are we at the what did he know and when did he know it stage with Tiny Dancer at this point? We're now joined by Chicago Sun-Times investigative reporter Mick Dumke. Mick, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So you and Chris Fusco did an interesting piece, wrote an interesting piece over the weekend about the emails that were released because, and this pertains specifically to the Laquan McDonald case, because Rahm's speech before the assembled aldermen was consistent with what he has said previously. He didn't know about the video, what was on the video. He doesn't involve himself in those matters until his legal counsel came to him in April of 2015 and said we had to settle this case. That seems to be contradicted by some of the email correspondence that you unearthed.
Well, it's not directly contradicted. I mean, I think all along they've had the story that he hasn't watched the video, and that's probably for legal reasons. And it's possible, you guys, that he hasn't actually seen it or that he didn't see it to that point. He hires people to do this for him. What we do know is that very soon after the shooting, which was on October 20th of 2014, very soon after that, top aides to the mayor knew about the shooting and that they probably saw the video or at least knew of the existence of the video very soon. I was told by a City Hall source who's very close to Rahm that it was, the word began to circulate soon after the incident that this was an ugly one. And so they were on the lookout. And you do see in the emails that in the weeks after the shooting, the corporation counsel, Steve Patton, was expecting a lawsuit to be filed at any time.
Yeah,
so they were on the lookout for this very soon.
But see, this is the key. I mean, you're right. It doesn't directly contradict what he said. But the point of whether he saw the video or not is immaterial because they're in full damage control mode right away, legally and politically. And as you suggested, this is a bad one. It strains the bounds of credulity to believe that aides did not characterize what was on that video to Rahm well before April of 2015.
I believe that's true. I mean, it was published that Laquan McDonald was shot 16 times. The writer-activist Jamie Calvin had acquired the autopsy report that was out in the national media. One thing we know, you guys, or that we've confirmed from looking at these emails is that Rahm's staff, and I would assume by extension Rahm himself, are obsessed with his media image, and especially in the national media. And so, to have material like this circulating, not just in Chicago, but well beyond, I have a hard time believing he wasn't at least briefed on the details of the case. I think that what I would say, though, is, and this doesn't contradict that, but it just adds to it, is that, I think that these shooting cases are handled this way all the time, and they have been for a long time. And so one of the things that quite honestly I find most chilling about all of this is the fact that there's sort of an assembly line of justice that's done. And you can raise questions about whether justice is actually justice. You see it. But when these shooting cases happen, they're sort of processed and shuffled and dealt with and settled and moved along the assembly line, in a way that's sort of unremarkable. One is sort of just like the next one. And I think what you really see from all this is that the city didn't think, and Rahm's, some of his top aides didn't necessarily think this was going to be anything different from usual. There have been bad ones or ugly ones before, and the city has paid a lot of money for it. This happens on a, I wouldn't say it's certainly not a every month kind of basis, but it's pretty common.
But what I learned from this email dump, 3,000 emails dumped on New Year's Eve, nice timing. But what I learned is that Rahm Emanuel, he's very insecure, and he's so worried about the cases, how it's being reported by the media, but also he wanted to try and control community leaders before it was released. Is that normal? Can you compare that to any other cases? Trying to control Father Flager, trying to control Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he used Kenneth Bennett to reach out to those two.
You're exactly right. We don't have the same level of detail about every other of the crises that have ensued for him, but my hunch is that yes, that this is how they do business, and that's sort of what I'm arguing here. Don't forget, early on when the mayor came in and he wanted to push school reforms through, they hired a bunch of protesters to go out there and support their position. This is an operation that I think from the get-go has been very, very media conscious and is, in large part governed by talking points. And, not to say they haven't done anything or done anything productive, but that is the impression that a lot of Chicagoans and beyond have. And I think that's why when something like this happens, it is such a shocking thing to watch. And people have questions already. People were having questions about the way these kind of cases are handled by the justice system. You throw all that together and people are absolutely outraged, and they wonder what else Rahm has hidden.
Well, people are outraged, but not people that happen to be members of the city council, it doesn't seem. Not hearing a lot, not seeing a lot of aldermen me-tooing the LaShawn Ford recall legislation. I'm seeing a lot of aldermen sitting on their hands, waiting to see how this plays out, not saying a lot, listening to the community, political speak for waiting to see which side I should be on. Why are so many aldermen, so reticent to act when you have a mayor who is less popular than Lyme disease and Democrat legislators, Chicago Democrat legislators like Ford and Flowers, filing recall legislation that has great populist support?
Well, you raise a great question, and I've been asking the same question since I started observing the city council, more than 15 years ago. This is just the latest issue where it seems like they are very slow to move, if they move at all. Their instinct has always been to sign off on what the administration pushes forward. And in this case, we've seen that actually is the message about the Laquan McDonald shooting. We saw that in the emails where literally, in some cases, the mayor's aides were writing press releases and press statements for certain aldermen. And there was a discussion about which aldermen they can present to the media who are essentially, friendly to the mayor's position. So, I think you just have to be blunt that the city council has has never been a particularly robust, deliberative body, and I don't think we can expect them suddenly to switch gears.
And I spoke with my alderman yesterday, Alderman Maya Pawar, and he said, there's a systemic problem between some police officers and the public, and Amy, it is not Rahm Emanuel's fault. That is what he told me over the phone yesterday, that it's not Rahm Emanuel's fault. And he does not support a recall because the alderman, I think, and I questioned him, why is it because the alderman would be part of that recall effort? He said, no, Rahm Emanuel, this is not his fault. We're going to have a new police chief soon, new superintendent, and things are going to change.
Nothing to see here. Everything's fine.
That's what it was.
Yeah, right.
Well,
He's standing in front of the exploding fireworks factory saying it. Yeah.
I don't write a lot of nice things about the mayor, but I do have to say I don't think this is all his fault. I think, you have to say that the situation has been building for a very long time. How he's handled this particular case absolutely is his fault. There's no doubt about that.
But I just want to interject for Amy's alderman also that statement. Rahm Emanuel came in on this false narrative, but the narrative nonetheless, new sheriff in town. He's the guy that's going to make the tough decisions. He's the guy that's going to advance the necessary structural reforms of the city, whether it's financially or culturally, the interaction between police and Chicago residents. None of that has happened. And he's been part of this power structure for 25 years. So it was a big lie that he was some fresh face that just happened upon the scene and was going to clean up this town after all of Daley's excesses. What he's done is continue Daley's excesses, but he's been part of it for the last 2.5 decades. So maybe it's time for some aldermen like Penoir and a lot of Chicago residents to get the fish hooks out of their mouth.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I've been writing that since Rahm came in, since before he came in. And, he wasn't alone, by the way. The whole political apparatus of Chicago was applauding Daley and all of his, financial, mistakes and excesses, to use your word. The editorial boards of both of the newspapers, including the one I work for, often were cheering the mayor. So he has a lot of company. But you're exactly right. And I would say this, though, Dan. I think that Mayor Emanuel had a checklist of things that he wanted to do, or at least he wanted to, present to the public and the media as his accomplishments. He had that checklist when he walked into office. Reforming the police department, dealing with criminal justice issues, which are by nature very complicated. That he did not want to have anything to do with this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
no mayor
right.
wants to get him. Yeah, no mayor wants to get caught up in this, and every mayor does.
But after 5, right, and every mayor does, and anybody who's going to be the mayor of a big city should know that going in, particularly with the systemic violent crime problem in Chicago, and now 5 years in, and nearly 2,000 in terms of body count, and thousands more in terms of severely injured people who've been shot. And what's the change? By any metric, how do you measure this mayor and say, oh, it's not his fault, he's doing the best he can, we're making progress? It's all a bunch of bull jive from a bunch of people trying to protect themselves while the city of Chicago disintegrates. That's what I see.
Well, yeah, I might not put it exactly the way you would, Dan.
Well, yeah.
No surprise there. But, no, I absolutely understand your point. I think people are really frustrated, again, with the talking points approach to governing the city. And, I will give, the mayor credit. He is having to deal with some financial stuff. And at this point in time, he's having to deal with policing and criminal justice stuff, whether he wants to or not. So, if we're going to put a positive spin on this, let's hope that the hour of reckoning really is here and that something is going to be done from it. But there's no doubt that I think, especially in his first term, he really spent the majority of his first term picking fights and trying to, sort of beat his chest and say all these things he was going to do. And he managed to, antagonize a lot of key constituency groups without really accomplishing a whole lot of the so-called reforms that he promised. So he managed to do sort of, and I know, Dan, where you stand on a lot of this, you I think would probably argue that some stuff is needed, to happen to change education and relations with the teachers union.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't necessarily see it the same way, but let's just say that's the case. He managed to antagonize the union without actually making a whole lot of progress there at the same time. So I just think his whole style of governance is going to change, and, I don't know if it has. I don't know if it will. The emails show up until a few weeks ago, there's still the same mentality of, let's deal with the media crisis today and the policy issues, which are admittedly harder to deal with, is something to keep pushing aside.
Mick, I know you talked to Rams Flax. Let me see if you can maybe push this their way. Maybe this is the way out. I'm going to try and give him a lifeline. Have Ram say that he's a victim of affluenza. That he's been
went to New Trier High School.
Well, no, but he's been coddled by Chicago elites for the last 25 years, and he just doesn't know any better. It's working in Texas.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll pass that on, and I'm sure they'll listen to me even more closely than they listen to you.
Thank you. Mick Dumke, investigative reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times. Thanks for joining us, Mick.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Look, you can see it. There's plenty of sunshine, a high today of 31 degrees. Travel times, here's Jim Telemonte.
Amy, Lakeshore Drive has delays after a northbound rollover crash at Lawrence just cleared. There are significant delays in that area both directions. Tri-State southbound slow 21 to Eau Plaine. Northbound from the Stevenson to 31st and from the Eisenhower to North Avenue. Eastbound Adams toll, it's a mess from 59 to Barrington Road with a crash in the right shoulder. Then from Arlington Heights Road to the Des Plaines Oasis with a stall in the right lane. Eden's 21 minutes like Cook to Montrose. Kennedy, 33 minutes O'Hare to downtown. The Ike, 54 minutes from Thorndale to the Loop. Stevenson, 54 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. And the Ryan, 19 minutes, 95th to downtown. Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
Don't get stuck paying two mortgages or living with a for sale sign in your yard forever. The answer is simple. Just call Saul Z and the Z team. Saul Z guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to. 29 days pass without a sale, Saul will buy it or help you rent it. And working with Saul won't obligate you to anything because if you aren't happy, Saul lets you out of the contract. Saul is so confident in selling your home because he spends many more times on marketing. For example, Mike and Kathleen from Glen Ellen heard about Saul Z and the Z team from a well-known radio personality endorsement and met with Saul. After hearing about Saul's marketing plan, they listed for $275,000, and Saul sold their home in only 7 days at 99% of their asking price. The Wall Street Journal ranks Saul number 106 out of 1.2 million agents because his team sells an average of over 300 homes a year compared to only 5 or 6 for the average agent. That's why I'll be calling Saul when I'm ready to sell my well-appointed condo or buy a new home. Go to callsaul.net, that's callsaul, SAUL.net, to find out what your home's worth, or call Saul directly at 888-346-0666. That's 888-346-0666, and start packing.
And now, a moment of objectivism with Yaron Brook and the Ayn Rand Institute.
American schools are mass-producing students who are not only largely ignorant of history, science, literature, and geography, but also unable to read, write, or add properly. Among the world's 34 richest countries, the U.S. is ranked 27th in math, 20th in science, and 17th in reading. America's educational crisis is no coincidence. Progressive education says that teaching children how to express themselves and get along with others is more important than teaching them facts or developing their ability to think rationally and independently. If you'd like to know more about the philosophical cause and solution of America's educational crisis, check out Teaching Johnny to Think, a philosophy of education based on the principles of Ayn Rand's objectivism by Leonard Peikoff at ARIradio.com. From the Ayn Rand Institute, I'm Yaron Brook.
This has been a moment of objectivism from the Ayn Rand Institute. To learn more, listen to the Yaron Brook Show, Saturdays at 4 on AM 560, and visit ARIradio.com.
Why are Ayn Rand's ideas so compelling? Her worldview, her philosophy, expressed dramatically in her novels Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, embodies the ideals stated by the Founding Fathers in the Declaration of Independence and sets forth the requirements necessary to achieve a flourishing life. She called her philosophy objectivism and said it was a philosophy for living on Earth. Today, decades after her death, objectivism continues to stir debate and inspire passion for the spirit of individualism and the enduring American dream.
Thank you so much to those who helped us reach our goal of feeding 18,000 children this holiday season, and to our many, many business benefactors. Now, when you hear their commercials in the coming months, we want to show them a sign of thanks by buying their products. And if you haven't given to Feed the Children, we suggest that you can. Any donation at any time is a tax-deductible gift that they're ready for. So just go to feedthechildren.org. And thanks again from all of us here at AM 560, The Answer.
Here's Dr. Howard, formulator of Balance of Nature, an all-natural, 100% organic fruit and vegetable supplement.
Did you know 40% of all cancer could be prevented? That's a fact. Along with maintaining appropriate body weight and regular exercise, the American Institute for Cancer Research and the USDA confirm that eating 9 to 11 servings of fruits and vegetables every day is the key. Now ask yourself, am I at risk? How many servings of fruits and vegetables did I eat today? Balance of Nature has solved this problem and provides an easy and affordable way to consume over 10 servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables every day.
Get real today with Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. Call toll-free 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com and be sure to enter promo code CHICAGO.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, at 8:38, we'll have Fred Barnes from the Weekly Standard to talk POTUS politics.
But first, let's go back into the newsroom and say good morning once again to Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, reparations paid in a Chicago police torture case. Crews suspended the Wisconsin lake search for a missing man last night. They'll resume later today. And income tax refunds could be delayed. We'll tell you why. It could be a fraud prevention situation for the state of Illinois. Bulls host the Bucks later on today, and plenty of sunshine in your forecast. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. He's going to sidestep Congress again, this time on gun control. President Obama preparing to take executive action. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
The president later this morning will announce plans to expand federal background checks on gun purchasers in an effort aimed at reducing gun violence. Under the executive action, the president will apply a more sweeping definition of gun dealers that will expand the number of gun sales subject to background checks. Currently, guns purchased at gun shows, websites, and flea markets often skirt the background check requirement. The president's executive order will also call on the FBI to hire 230 more examiners to process the millions of background checks that are conducted each year. Dave?
John, Republicans have long criticized the president's executive actions and call this another overreach. Chris Christie's among several presidential candidates who would
revoke his executive orders that are illegal and, in my view, unconstitutional.
Iran's president says Saudi Arabia is cutting off diplomatic ties is an attempt to cover up a crime, referencing the Saudi execution of a prominent Shiite cleric, which prompted angry protests in Iran attacking the Saudi embassy. Tanya Couch goes to court today in L.A. Prosecutors want her sent to Texas on charges she helped her infamous son skip probation. Ethan avoided jail time in a deadly drunk driving case with a ridiculed affluenza defense. He's still in custody in Mexico, where he reportedly was partying it up.
DailyMail.com says Couch was partying and drinking at the strip club Harem in Puerto Vallarta. The report says club owners took a staggering Couch and woke up his mother at her hotel so she could pay her son's $2,000 tab.
Brandon Todd with KDFW. An 8-year-old African boy is coming to America for a complicated makeover. His face was mauled by chimpanzees 2 years ago. Surgeons in New York will next week try to use tissue and muscle from his arm to recreate lips so he can open and close his mouth and eat and talk normally again. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Mostly sunny, 23 degrees. It's 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The City of Chicago Law Department says one of its lawyers accused by a federal judge of concealing evidence in a civil case regarding a fatal police shooting has resigned. Jordan Marsh submitted his resignation late Monday. Earlier, Judge Edmund Chang criticized Marsh, saying he intentionally concealed important evidence in a civil trial that ended last year with jurors finding 2 officers were justified in the death of Darius Pinnix during a 2011 traffic stop. The new head of the Chicago Independent Police Review Authority is making some changes. Sharon Fairley announcing yesterday the work of the agency will be more transparent than in the past.
My goal is to put plans in motion that can enhance the agency's ability to conduct quality, thorough, and timely investigations into officer-involved shootings and other complaints of misconduct, while also rebuilding Chicagoans' trust in the agency.
The former federal prosecutor was named the head of the agency last month by Mayor Emanuel. Crews resumed their search efforts this morning for a man, one of 4 who went missing at a frigid lake in southern Wisconsin. Wisconsin DNR Warden Jason Roberts says crews ended their day Monday evening but are resuming this morning on Mill Lake. It's about 35 miles southeast of Milwaukee. 4 men from Illinois were reported missing. on Sunday. 2 of the men were found dead shortly after the search began. A third body was recovered late yesterday. Chicago sports, NBA tonight, Milwaukee and the Bulls, and they could have Derrick Rose back on the floor after an MRI showed no structural damage to the right knee of Rose. On the ice, the Blackhawks take on Pittsburgh tonight. The news, a service of Lead Safe America. More than 1 in 3 American kids has lead in their blood. No level of lead is safe. Lead poisoning causes learning disabilities and behavioral disorders. Has your child been tested? Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org. It's 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of turnkey.pro. From the Fox Business Network, here's Lillian Wu.
From the Fox Business Network, stock futures are lower the morning after big losses on Wall Street for the first trading day of the new year. Markets spooked by worries over a slump in manufacturing in the U.S. and China, as well as conflicts in the Middle East. Despite tensions between major oil producers Iran and Saudi Arabia, oil prices are falling. Saudi Arabia, though, has announced it is raising the price of crude to Asia. And a Pennsylvania company will pay about $1.75 million to thousands of employees who had to clock out while going on short breaks, including for the bathroom. The Labor Department filed a lawsuit claiming the company, which publishes business newsletters, violated the Federal Fair Labor Standards Act because employees weren't earning minimum wage when the company required them to clock out for breaks. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Lillian Wu.
It's 8:05 in Chicago. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
If you want to work until you drop, reduce your standard of living in retirement, or lose more of your hard-earned money in the stock market, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to generate a steady, predictable income, I'm talking real wealth and financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. A free report is now available that reveals the money-making secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. It reveals how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and wealth-building power without risking your money in the Wall Street casino. To get your free special report, visit bankonyourself.com. That's bankonyourself.com.
What would an extra $250 a month mean to you? For some, it's a little financial breathing room. For others, it's a car payment, a home repair, or help with college tuition. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I've got some great news if you're looking to save money on your mortgage. All it takes is a simple phone call to Quicken Loans at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Folks who refinance with HARP can save an average of $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. Our home loan experts fully understand the HARP guidelines, and they'll walk you through our streamlined process. And for 6 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equalizing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
8:06 in our Chicago RadioDeals.com traffic center. Let's get the latest with Jim Talamonte.
Like traffic on the eastbound Adams Tollway, I-90 is packed solid from Beverly Road to Barrington Road with a crash on the right shoulder. Then it's slow from Arlington Heights Road to the Des Plaines Oasis, where a stall has the right lane closed. Northbound Tri-State heavy from the Stevenson to 31st and from 290 to North Avenue. Southbound still a bit tight from 21 to Eau Plaine. Reagan Tollway's fine. Veterans Memorial. Southbound slow North Avenue to Butterfield. And northbound it's heavy, 75th to the Reagan Tollway and in between Butterfield and Roosevelt. Eden's 21 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose outbound 24. The Kennedy 43 minutes, O'Hare to downtown outbound 28. The Ike 54 minutes, Thorndale to the Loop outbound 35. Stevenson 54 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive, and the Rhine is 26 minutes, 95th to downtown. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the AirComfort.com Weather Center, AirComfort.com, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Here's meteorologist Kevin Snyder.
Sunshine today with a high 31, then tonight partly cloudy, low 23. Tomorrow some sun followed by clouds, high 36, and remaining cloudy through the night with a low 31. Then a morning shower in spots Thursday with rain and drizzle in the afternoon, high 37. I'm Kevin Snyder on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 23 at O'Hare. Next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Art House Gallery, putting cash in your pocket for your valuables. Call 847-865-9252.
Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning briefing. Here's what you need to know to start your day.
Call it the sprint to the starting line. After all those months of rising and falling fortunes, we're now just 28 days from the first nominating contest of the 2016 race for president.
Below freezing on the road in Iowa, Ted Cruz plays a hot hand in the lead, but not a lot.
It's still between you and Trump.
Today, kicking off trips to 28 counties in 6 days.
How the hell can she do that when she's got one of the great women abusers of all time sitting at her house?
I've adopted a New Year's resolution. I'm going to let him live in his alternative reality, and I'm not going to respond.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Amy, funeral services set for Betty Jones tomorrow. Betty Jones was the middle-aged woman who was accidentally shot and killed over the holidays. The same incident, Chicago police responding to Quintonio LeGrier, NIU undergrad, having some kind of mental episode. His father calls police. Police arrive on the scene. He's wielding a bat. Open fire. Betty Jones was descending from her apartment. She was in the doorway of the
first floor apartment. Yeah.
And just trying to kind of like hold on, trying to essentially calm the situation, it seems. And she was shot and killed. So,
and people are describing her. She was a mother of 5. Did not know that. A grandmother of 10, and she worked in a local bakery, and supported, the work of the Action Now community advocate group. They describe her as, a high-profile, good neighbor. She was, the one person in the neighborhood that everyone loved.
And it doesn't seem to me like there's much controversy about this, that it was an accidental shooting. There's reports from the scene that the officer essentially. The officer who opened fire essentially conceded the point, didn't mean to shoot her. She was not the target of the response call. She was not being an aggressor in any way. So it seems like an accident. And another case the city's going to have to settle.
Right. And how do you think that they will settle this?
No, there's no. Why are you going to go to trial? If you know that the city is culpable effectively, then it's probably going to be settled. Just wanted to make note on that, not to close the loop, because we'll be talking about these matters for a while, I suspect, but just to make that point since the funeral service is tomorrow. Moving on to presidential politics, Donald Trump has his first ad up on the air. And like everything with Donald Trump, it is
always controversy, right?
Subject of much scrutiny and corresponding controversy. Here's the ad.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
The politicians can pretend it's something else, but Donald Trump calls it radical Islamic terrorism. That's why he's calling for a temporary shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until we can figure out what's going on. He'll quickly cut the head off ISIS and take their oil. And he'll stop illegal immigration by building a wall on our southern border that Mexico will pay for.
We will make America great again.
Interesting choice of words. Cut the head off ISIS. So the controversy.
And then steal their oil, but okay.
Well,
that'll start World War III.
I don't know if that would technically be stealing something.
You
that
take
they're
their oil,
engaged in illicit business. But the controversy surrounds the image. One of the images in the ad of people crossing a border.
I described it as scrambling like ants over the mountainous terrain, which I lived along the border in El Paso, and I've visited the border in various parts of Arizona, and I've never seen a border look like that.
Well, that's because it's not the U.S.-Mexico border.
Right. It was footage taken 5,000 miles away in Morocco.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
Morocco. Uh-huh.
And Trump was questioned about it, and he responded in typical Trump fashion. No Shiite is what he said. It wasn't intended to be the Mexican border. It was intended to be a depiction of what happens when you have no border control.
I am not buying that for a second.
That's
plausible deniability. And his campaign manager, yes, came out and tweeted too and told Katie Torr and people from other, various news organizations that, we're showing you this because this is what we don't want to become. Like, wake up, dummies. We've got this. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it just proves again that he's fast and loose with the facts.
Wow.
And he's above the law. And even in his campaign commercials, he can just say whatever he wants.
I think that's a little bit of stretch. Feel free to give us a call and rate the ad, though, if you want. 312-642-5600 is the turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, the turnkey.pro text line.
Or you could reach us through our mobile app, our AM560 mobile app.
Yes,
Download it, and you could also enter to win a free trip to Los Cabos, Mexico.
That's right. Just click on the Enter to Win banner there and register. Contest ends January 29th. Nicely weaved in. And Trump's not the only one with an ad. This is also an interesting development. We talked about this a little bit yesterday with Matt Strawn, the former Iowa State Republican Party chairman, and that's this kind of third storyline that the few in the Washington press corps are paying attention to because everybody wants to talk Trump and to some extent Cruz and the horse race in Iowa and New Hampshire, early states. But there's this battle going on among establishment types, and I think it's a little unfair to call Rubio an establishment type, but that's kind of what he's become. Rubio and Christie, and to some extent Jeb, jockeying for a better-than-expected finish in Iowa that would hopefully propel them to a better-than-expected finish in New Hampshire, even a win in New Hampshire, and get them into this race that seems to be a two-horse race right now, but is still very fluid. So Marco Rubio, a PAC that's affiliated with that's an independent expenditure PAC that supports Marco Rubio, has taken out after Chris Christie, which signifies Chris Christie has some relevance, at least as it relates to Marco Rubio's market positioning. Here's the Marco Rubio Super PAC hit on Chris Christie.
Chris Christie could well be Obama's favorite Republican governor. Why? Christie's record. He instituted an internet sales tax, supported Common Core, and liberal energy policies. Incredibly, Christie even backed Obamacare's Medicaid expansion. Chris Christie, one high-tax, Common Core, liberal energy-loving, Obamacare Medicaid expanding president is enough. Conservative Solutions PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Somebody's getting nervous about the big fella in the room.
Well, and the big fella has been spending a lot of time taking shots at Marco Rubio, too, for things like missing votes. This was a back and forth he had with Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday over the weekend.
And then yesterday he called Obama a king. What is it getting on this executive order for more gun control?
Yeah, that's right.
Called him a king.
And a petulant child.
Yes, that too.
So I guess he's like Joffrey in Game of Thrones. He's a king, but he's a petulant child at the same time. It's interesting. Here's something else that's interesting about Trump.
I call him the Trumpster now. I like the Trumpster.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
It's nice that you have that kind of rapport with him.
I have met him a few times.
A piece by Nate Cohn. He's one of these sabermetricians in the New York Times. Donald Trump's strongest supporter is a certain kind of Democrat. And part of the piece recounts something that we've talked about here and has become kind of the conventional wisdom about Trump, that his base voters are less affluent, less educated, less likely to turn out to vote, less likely to necessarily self-identify as Republicans, and thus the call from Trump in his more recent rallies, make sure you get out and vote. I got to translate all 14,000 of you in this stadium to the polls on Election Day. But there's also this. The data shows that Mr. Trump has broad support in the GOP spanning all major demographic groups. He leads the field among Republican women and among people in well-educated and affluent areas. He even holds a nominal lead among Republican respondents that this polling agency estimated are Hispanic based on their names and where they live. So it seems to me, and this is why Trump has staying power, even if he loses Iowa, as I suspect he will, but has a strong second-place finish, which I also suspect 3.5 weeks out. This is much more complicated than just saying Trump has appealed to Reagan Democrats, and that's why his support is sticky. He's also doing well across other demographics. He's doing well among people who have a shared it's a psychographic shared position they have, which is the elites are destroying this country. And you can be someone very well educated, maybe overeducated, and doing very well financially, and still understand that the ruling class in Washington, D.C. is not serving me, my family, this country particularly well. That's why I think the Trump phenomena is more complicated than just relegating it to, he's doing well among, blue-collar 55-year-olds who can't find work anymore. That's part of it, but it's not the whole story. Ralph and Rantoul, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, well, to start, it's the same old line that Democrats use all the time. If you vote Republican, you're stupid. So they're just trying to tie stupid to Trump. It's the same thing. They're
if you vote Republican, you're racist, and they're trying to tie that.
Well, you're racist and you're stupid. But the Morocco thing, just like in football, when the running back starts 7 or 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage, you got to start someplace. They're just starting in Morocco. They'll be running across the border in Mexico if they get.
No, they're actually running out.
It's a long run.
If there's a group that did a study recently that Mexicans aren't trying to come into this country; they're actually leaving our country.
But I'm not saying Mexicans are trying to run across the border.
Well, that's what he was trying to get across.
Without border control, anybody can run across the border.
That's the larger point. Thanks for the call, Ralph. That's right. That is the larger point, and you remember the focus of Trump's ad is not Mexican illegal immigration. It's radical Islam. It specifically mentions it.
But he used that shot when he was talking about building a wall and securing our border.
Yeah, but
so that's what's juxtaposed with the rhetoric. But it's also too is a larger theme of.
When was the last time? When was the last time you heard Donald Trump say anything about illegal persons from Mexico here illegally? It's been a long time.
Because he came out of the chute with the Mexicans are rapists.
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, he didn't say that. I mean, again, that was and I'm not a Trump fan, but we don't have to overstate the case against him. I think it's a mistake when you overstate the case against him and you kind of purposely misconstrue what he said, or even just misstate what he literally said. But his focus, smartly for Trump, since the terrorist attacks, Paris and San Bernardino, has been radical Islamic terror. And that's I think what you take away from that ad, a national security issue.
So you think it was effective?
I think it's effective for the place Trump is trying to occupy. I do. Jane in Burr Ridge.
Hi, man. I was just going to say that if somebody asked me 6 months ago, would I vote for Donald Trump? I would have said, in a pig's eye. No way. Can't stand the man. But I happened to sit there and listen to him when he was doing some speech in Texas. I listened to what he said. Oh, my gosh. I mean, that's what I want. I want national security. To me, that trumps everything. And I don't, no pun intended. It is the issue which trumps everything, because if we're dead, it doesn't matter about health care. It doesn't matter about, Social Security, any of it. And so, he makes good sense, and I have a business in a very high-income, highly educated area, and people are talking about him all the time. All my customers are college-educated. Most of them are women. They're all for him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the Wall Street Journal keeps saying about all these, non-educated people that are for him. But, hey, we need them, too, because I thought I was voting for the best person on the planet last time around with Mitt Romney, and he didn't win. So we got to go with somebody that has appeal to everybody, and I think Trump does.
Thanks for the call, Jane. And I'll tell you something, too. Let's not make the mistake that your level of education is equivalent to your wisdom or your skill sets. The idea that you don't have a college degree, so you're not a sapient human being, that's also very dismissive and insulting. And it just drives, frankly, more people across the educational demographic to Donald Trump. We'll take more of your calls right after this.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Plenty of sunshine to greet you today on your way to work. A high of 31 degrees. Travel times, here's Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Amy. On the inbound side of the Kennedy Expressway, the delays are starting around Central Avenue. There's a crash at Lawrence in the left lane. 43 minutes O'Hare to downtown. Outbound is 25. Edens, 21 minutes. Lake Hook to Montrose. Outbound 22. The Eisenhower is the heaviest. jammed 17th to Western, an hour and 5 minutes. Thorndale to downtown. Outbound, just 30 minutes. Stevenson, 48 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan, 26 minutes, 95th to downtown. Southbound Lakeshore Drive, still heavy Irving Park to Fullerton. Tri-State southbound, slow 21 to Will Plain. Northbound, there's slow pockets. Plainfield Road to 31st, and 290 to North Avenue. Adams Hole recovering, a still slow Beverly to Barrington after a crash, and then Arlington Heights Road to the Des Plaines Oasis. Reagan Tollway slow Finley to Myers. There's some snow on the roadway dumped by a semi. I'm Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com Traffic Center.
Hey, weather is here, and you know where it's going to be warm and sunny for the next 5 months? Los Cabos, Mexico. That's where we're headed April 2nd through April 9th, Saturday to Saturday. We'll be staying at the beautiful Secrets Puerto Los Cabos Golf and Spa Resort. It's an all-inclusive, adults-only, all-suites resort. 8 great restaurants, 2 sparkling pools, 3 miles of pristine beaches. It is the best.
And right now, when you download the AM560 The Answer mobile app, AM560 The Answer mobile app, you can register for your chance to win an all-expense-paid trip to Secrets Los Cabos, Mexico with us, courtesy of Apple Vacations. Just click on the Enter to Win banner to register. Contest ends January 29th at 9 a.m.
This is Sam Gilberto, president of American Embroidery and Screen Printing and American Marketing Products. We specialize in putting your logo on just about anything. Our focus is entirely on you, our customer. We want every customer experience to be outstanding. American Embroidery and Screen Printing is a brick-and-mortar business located in Glendale Heights. Our equipment and manufacturing processes are state-of-the-art, so are the people who work here. With over 40 years' experience, we have the capability, capacity, and know-how to get your job done right and on time. I want to earn your business, so for a limited time, we're offering free artwork on embroidery and screen printing orders for all new customers. Let us help you gear up for that big trade show, provide shirts or jackets for all your employees, students, or church members, or simply provide you with giveaway items such as coffee mugs, pens, or hats. Whatever it is, you can trust an American to take care of it. It's easy to contact us, trustinamerican.com. That's trustinamerican.com, or call at 630-766-2825.
The most recent U.S. Supreme Court decision on the Affordable Care Act made one thing certain. We will all have to deal with this ever-changing law until at least 2017. If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. That's right, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 20-year licensed broker who's been educating AM560 listeners on the Affordable Care Act for the last 5 years.
Thanks, Dan. If you have a pre-existing condition, a canceled plan, or your premium increased, now's the time to get covered. 2016 open enrollment begins on November 1st and ends on January 31st. During this 90-day window, you cannot be denied coverage. Depending on your income, you may find a more affordable plan. The new healthcare law is very complicated and you do need guidance. It costs you nothing to use a broker, so why not tap into my expertise?
Thanks, Steve. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
Hi, I'm Tom Sadeka, President and CEO of Precision Payroll of America. We're the 32-year-old company whose first employee and first client are still working together. With me today is one heck of a great service partner.
Thanks, Tom. Hi, I'm Andrea Kashaba, owner of Tulane & Associates Accounting and Tax Services here in Elk Grove, servicing small businesses since 1986. I heard Precision Payroll ads years ago. I called on behalf of one of my clients. Tom came out, met with us. Since then, we've added 6 more clients and absolutely love working with Tom and Precision Payroll. As an accounting professional, I love having the connection with Precision Payroll as it makes serving my clients even easier.
Andrea, thanks for coming in and sharing our success story. You are awesome and a joy to work with. If you want to partner with us or work with us, call me directly at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507. Or on the web at precisionpayroll.com.
On AM 560 The Answer, we talk about the important issues that affect your world. Things like the economy, education, and foreign policy. There's always so much going on in the news that we don't always have the time to drill down and talk about the big ideas behind the big issues. That's where Upstream Ideas comes in. Upstream Ideas, online at upstream-ideas.com, in partnership with the Illinois Policy Institute, provides the kind of information that informs the policy discussions happening here on AM 560. At Upstream Ideas, you'll broaden the debate, move beyond partisan assumptions, and challenge accepted orthodoxies. In other words, Upstream Ideas goes against the current and thinks Upstream. Go online now to upstream-ideas.com. That's upstream-ideas.com. You'll be armed with new information and fresh perspectives to spur you on to make the state of Illinois and the United States of America a bit more free, a bit more just, and a bit more civilized. Upstream-ideas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan and Amy taking your calls on Trump and the POTUS race, too. Rubio going after Christie, Christie going after Rubio. Ferris and Cicero, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning.
Good morning, you're on.
Good morning. Ferris Fluke calling from Cicero. I wanted to chime in on the prior caller who mentioned Trump's appeal and your news item that had him appealing to broad bases. We had several family get-togethers over the past few holidays, including Christmas, and our family has never agreed on anything.
And
we have fascists, communists, we have libertarians.
Wow. That's
yeah,
quite a family.
Yeah, well, we're like most families. We're
Hey, El Duce, pass the potatoes.
Exactly. But here comes a guy called the Donald, and everybody around that table found something appealing about the Donald. Now, I'm a first-time caller, but is it Amy who said she met the Donald, the Trumpster she calls him?
Yes,
the Trumpster?
I've met him a few times.
Well, could I draw you out a little bit on your experience in meeting him? Because I've met a few women who have met him, and
He was
they
an
all have
absolute gentleman.
gracious,
Absolute gentleman. Yep.
like me, I think, right?
You know what? You two are cut from the same
I'll
cloth.
tell you, two peas in a pod. Ferris, thanks for the call. Call
Yeah.
again. We got to jump.
Am I on the air?
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Geico applauds your inner road champion.
A solid bump from Geico's fist to yours goes out to the little rebel that lives within. The one who made you daydream as a kid about owning a chopper, chroming it out, and chewing on toothpicks, just to look tough. For you, champ, Geico insures motorcycles with great rates. And to further fuel your engine, you can access your policy anytime, day or night through the Geico mobile app. Because Geico knows that even make-believe renegades need help from time to time.
Geico Motorcycle. See how much you could save.
How long would you wait for your shower to get hot? How long would you wait for your cell phone to fully charge? How long would you wait to get relief from your nasal congestion? If you're congested now and you want powerful relief now, use Afrin No Drip. Afrin starts working in seconds and keeps working for 12 hours. So why wait? When you can start to get relief in seconds with Afrin. Afrin, powerful congestion relief without the wait. Use as directed. For more information, go to Afrin.com.
Congratulations, we did it. We fed 18,000 children in and around the Chicagoland area this holiday season. Real families with real needs that you helped to meet. So thank you so much. And especially the many thanks to our business benefactors who stepped up in a huge way. Now, when you hear their advertisements on this station in the coming months, we encourage you to support them as a way of saying thanks for their generosity. And just because we met our goal doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Please continue to support Feed the Children at any time with any amount with a tax-deductible gift. Just go to feedthechildren.org. That's feedthechildren.org. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Amy and Dan, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We have sunshine right now, 23 degrees. The president about to detail the steps he'll take, he says, to curb gun violence this morning. He's expected to outline executive actions requiring more gun sellers to get a license and limit the ability of criminals and mentally unstable to get a gun. Yesterday, the president blamed Congress for a lack of action on his gun control agenda.
For us to get our complete arms around the problem, Congress needs to act. What I asked my team to do is to see what more we could do to strengthen our enforcement and prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands.
The president will speak from the White House around 10:40 this morning. Hostage situation involving children at a motel in DeKalb County, Georgia is over. Police say the suspect stabbed himself in the neck. All 11 children in suburban Atlanta and the woman inside that hotel room were not harmed. No word yet on the man's condition. Federal agents are arresting illegal immigrants who will be deported. A series of raids was held in North Carolina, Georgia, and Texas over the weekend. Most of the men, women, and children arrived recently from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Nervous investors are hoping for the best when the bell rings on the second day of trading of the new year in just moments. The Dow lost 276 yesterday and was down as much as 467 points earlier on Monday. The city of Chicago's law department says one of its lawyers accused by a federal judge of concealing evidence in a civil case regarding a 2011 fatal police shooting has resigned. The search has resumed this morning on a southern Wisconsin lake for a fourth Illinois man missing since the weekend. Crews have recovered the bodies of 3 from the icy waters of Mill Lake in Walworth County since the 4 were reported missing on Sunday. Chicago sports. Bulls tonight take on Milwaukee. They could have Derrick Rose back at point. In the NHL, the Blackhawks take on Pittsburgh. College hoops, nice one here in the city. Number 19, Butler takes on DePaul. The news, a service of Lead Safe America. More than 1 in 3 American kids has lead in their blood. No level of lead is safe. Lead poisoning causes learning disabilities and behavioral disorders. Has your child been tested? Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org. 8:34, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher explains the fanatical support of Donald Trump.
They think there's a guy who will finally do what he says he's going to do. Unlike Mitch McConnell, go down the list of failures, the refusal to defund Obamacare after promising they would. Over and over again, you know how let down Americans feel with the Republican Party.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 on your mobile device. Now available on iHeartRadio. Online at iHeartRadio.com.
Well, hey there, I'm Naomi Judd. As an entertainer, I know firsthand how music, TV, and movies can really touch our heart and stir up powerful emotions. That can be a wonderful thing. But you know, when we're talking about impressionable young kids and the entertainment they're consuming is violent or highly sexualized, it can be downright dangerous. Kids today are growing up in a media culture that is saturated with shocking images and negative messages. And I'm really concerned that it's hurting our kids. That's why I joined the Parents Television Council. The PTC is the nation's most influential organization protecting children against graphic sex, violence, and profanity in entertainment. Membership is free, and you will be joining your voice with more than 1 million other Americans who share your values. To learn more, go to www.parentstv.org, or you can call 1-800-TV-COUNTS. The Parents Television Council, because our children are watching.
The only defense between your family and another harsh Chicago winter is your roof. For 3 generations, the Lindhome family has been keeping Chicagoland homes safe and protected from the elements, even in the winter. They specialize in exterior needs from roofing, windows, brickwork, gutters, and siding. Start the new year off right by calling 888-4-ROOFER. That's 888-4-ROOFER. There's still time to inspect that roof or window before the ice, snow, and cold arrive. Roofing and windows can be installed in cooler weather, and most jobs can be done same day. So don't wait until you have an emergency on your hands. Call Lindhome Roofing at 888-4-ROOFER or visit lindhomeroofing.com. Lindhome Roofing. Their family has your family covered. 888-4-ROOFER. Lindhome Roofing is a proud sponsor of Feed the Children.
8:37 in our ChicagoRadioDeals.com traffic center. Here is Jim Talamonte.
Thanks, Mike. In Round Lake Beach, Rollins is closed east of 83 between Hook and Drury Lane due to a crash. Eden's inbound 21 minutes. Lake Hook to Montrose outbound 22. Inbound Kennedy, delays started Central 45 minutes. O'Hare to downtown 35 from Montrose, 25 in the Express. Outbound 30 minutes downtown to O'Hare. Inbound Eisenhower, an hour and 7 minutes from Thorndale to the Loop and 54 minutes from Manheim. Outbound just 30 to Thorndale. Stevenson, 54 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan is 26 minutes, 95th to downtown. Northbound Tri-State Heavy, Plainfield Road to 31st, and around 290. Then the eastbound Adams tollway delays. Beverly to Barrington and Arlington Heights Road to the Des Plaines Oasis. Traffic answers when you need them most. I'm Jim Talamonte, AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the aircomfort.com Weather Center, Air Comfort, 80 years of quality mechanical solutions for your business. Plenty of sunshine, 31 today. Partly cloudy overnight, low 23. 23 and sun at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by MyPainChicago.com. World-class treatment for chronic pain. Go to MyPainChicago.com.
Joe Walsh here. Time for all of us to fight back against Obama's illegal gun executive orders. I'll tell you how when freedom returns at 5.
Dan and Amy, and we were talking about Trump. His new ad, there's a little bit of controversy around it. Not going to amount to much. Also, the interesting development, kind of the undercard right now, Christie and Rubio sending charges out after one another. For more on this, we're now joined by our friend Fred Barnes. He, of course, the executive editor of the Weekly Standard and the author of a new book with his friend Morton Kondrack. You remember these guys from the McLaughlin Group, of course, about Jack Kemp. It's excellent. I actually read it over the holidays. Jack Kemp, the bleeding heart conservative that changed America. Very good read. Highly recommend it. Fred Barnes, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and thanks for your plug.
No problem. Really interesting story about the Kemp's decision to not enter the 1980 New York Republican primary for Senate. That was one of my favorite little pieces of the book. But anyway, let's talk a little presidential politics. And while Ted Cruz seems to have kind of the momentum right now, particularly in Iowa, but generally kind of made it a two-horse race, if just the snapshot in time, Donald Trump still has some real staying power in a way that few estimated he would, even as we're coming down to a handful of days before the Iowa caucus. Ross Douthat authoring a piece over the weekend in the New York Times apologizing for underestimating Donald Trump. And it's not just Reagan Democrats. He's doing well across the demographics of Republican primary voters.
Well, I can't argue with that. That's for sure. Look, I didn't think Ross needed to apologize for that. I mean, that his assumption seemed to be that, as someone who writes about politics, I'm omniscient. Nobody knew that Trump was going to do as well as he has and continue to do as well as he has. And, this new ad he has, which I think is a pretty good ad from his standpoint. And, he's got the old standbys in there. He's going to no more illegal immigrants and no Muslims in the country temporarily. And we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. It's the same old stuff, but it still seems to work.
Yeah, and he's playing to America's fears. I mean, really, and he's done a great job doing it. Even, the rollout of this TV ad received so much press that it's almost as if he really put the wrong pictures in, talking about the Mexican border and showing Morocco as a way to get even more press. I wouldn't put it past him, would you?
No, I wouldn't put anything past him. But look, he's pretty good on TV. He knows what issues are working. But, and this is a big but, we have a long time before February 1st. Now, this campaign's been going on for a year, and Trump's been in first place since July in almost all the polls, the national ones anyway, and usually in Iowa and New Hampshire as well. But here's when a lot happens. I mean, I've covered a lot of these races, and you think somebody is really leading strongly heading into the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary, and then they collapse. So Howard Dean collapsed in 2004 in the Democratic primaries, and John Kerry came out of nowhere. It turned out to be not a great presidential candidate, but he did win the Democratic nomination. So a lot can happen in the next few weeks.
Well, the Howard Dean comparison is interesting. It seems to me one of the interesting developments will be to see how Trump handles not winning the Iowa caucus. Will he handle it with grace and aplomb, or will he be kind of the more petulant, trivial Donald Trump and perhaps undermine his campaign in that moment like Howard Dean did on the other side?
Well, that's a great question, Dan, and I expect from what we've seen of Trump so far that he won't respond very gracefully. Quite the contrary. He's already told Iowa voters that they were stupid after a poll showed him trailing
in Iowa. This was several weeks ago, you'll recall. So a defeat can really upset him, a guy with a gigantic ego, and not that other politicians don't have big ones too, but this will be a real test for him. But Iowa and New Hampshire are tests of whether the whole Trump thing is a bubble or not, that it's inflated, that there's really, there's all this support now, but it's not, it's a yard wide and an inch deep, and we'll find out. I'm not sure what the answer is, but we're going to find out.
I read somewhere when I was on vacation that Trump realizes he's going to lose Iowa and he's focusing on New Hampshire. But the Des Moines Register came out, with their latest poll yesterday. Ted Cruz up 31% to Donald Trump's 21%.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't put too much, I wouldn't stake too much on that, except to say that certainly Ted Cruz is hot. And he's run, he's very unpopular here in Washington, particularly with the Republican leadership, but he's a great presidential candidate, and he's done well in Iowa. So at the moment, it looks very good for Cruz, and it's hard to imagine that Trump, after being up and coming down, is going to bounce back up again. That seems unlikely, but there have been so many unlikely things in this whole race.
We're talking to Fred Barnes, the executive editor of the Weekly Standard, weeklystandard.com. So, Ted Cruz. A lot of time is being spent, and Peggy Noonan penned a piece in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend about the possibility of a splintered GOP, and most of the focus is Donald Trump as the nominee splinters the GOP. But to what you just referenced, the Beltway establishment of the Republican Party not keen on Ted Cruz, and he seems to have as good a chance as anybody not named Trump to be the nominee. What happens if Ted Cruz is the nominee? Is he able to unify the party, or does the establishment, your sense of, does the establishment take their ball and go home and make it very difficult for him to win the presidency, which is what the establishment is trying to argue on behalf of Rubio or Christie or Jeb?
Yeah, well, there are a number of things here involved in that question. One is whether people believe, whether they're in the establishment, whether it's you or me, Dan, believes that Ted Cruz can win over Hillary Clinton in November of 2016. I think it will be very difficult for Ted Cruz. So, I think that that's a drawback for him. But
why would it be difficult?
Because I think he'll do poorly on the Hispanic vote. He'll have a hard time moving to the center and attracting and controlling the center. Look, that's the way it looks now. Things change, as I mentioned in a piece for the Weekly Standard, where I really raised doubts about Cruz's ability to beat Hillary Clinton. I made the point that, around this time we heard, 30-some years ago, Reagan can't win.
Right.
And Reagan did win. Now, Cruz isn't Reagan. The whole landscape is different. But look, he's run a great campaign. About the party splitting, I think there's one thing that keeps the Republican Party from splitting, even if Trump is the nominee, although it'll be harder then, and that is Hillary Clinton. Every Republican I know, establishment, conservative, religious conservative, whatever, they all fear Hillary Clinton as president. They think that will be horrible for America.
Well, the big
unites
dog
Republicans.
Right. The big dog is back on the campaign trail. Of course, her husband, not as sharp, not as effective, I don't think, as he used to be in years past. Is he going to help her or hurt her campaign? Because now that he's back, the whole focus is on his, sexcapades that he had back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's going to help her. He may give her good advice, but out on the stump, I don't think he's going to help much. The issue here is not Trump, and it's not Bill Clinton. It's Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton, and what has she done with all these obviously true stories about abuses of women by her husband? Does she want him out on the campaign trail? She's got to answer questions. One, the media has to ask these questions of her and not pretend like Trump's the issue when he raises the whole things about Clinton's sexual escapades. But and she hasn't answered those yet.
He is Fred Barnes, the executive editor of the Weekly Standard, theweeklystandard.com. Fred, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Dan.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Plenty of sunshine today, a high of 31 degrees. And tomorrow we're going to have mostly sunny skies, afternoon clouds, a little bit warmer, a high of 37. Let's get the travel times. How's the inbound Kennedy doing, Jim Telemonte?
Well, Amy, it's stop and go from Central to Lawrence, where there's a crash still blocking the left lane, and then it's slow Montrose to Ohio. So it's 45 minutes O'Hare to downtown, 35 from Montrose, 25 in the Express, outbound 30 minutes downtown to the airport. Eden's just 21 minutes, Lake Cook to Montrose, outbound fine at 19. The Eisenhower, an hour and 10 minutes, Thorndale to downtown, 57 minutes from Manheim, outbound 30 to Thorndale. Stevenson, 54 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. Outbound, it's clear. Ryan, 26 minutes, 95th to downtown. Southbound Lakeshore Drive, slow Montrose to Fullerton. Northbound Tri-State heavy at 290. Eastbound Adams Tollway. Still stop and go Beverly to Barrington and Bussy to Lee after some earlier issues. I'm Jim Talamonte, ChicagoRadioDeals.com, Traffic Center.
Now that the holidays are over, it's time to start thinking a little bit about yourself. And one way would be to treat yourself to a MyPillow. There are many of you who have procrastinated, so don't put it off any longer. MyPillow is a premium pillow with 4 different loft levels that's customized to your individual preference. And for my listeners who use the promo code Amy, you'll get 2 MyPillows for the price of 1. It's MyPillow's best offer. It's so important to get a great night's sleep. You'll feel refreshed, rejuvenated. MyPillow helps with snoring, headaches, neck pain, insomnia, and allergies. It's washable, so it keeps its shape to give you support where you need it most. That's why it's the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation. For this 2 for the price of 1 offer, visit MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201. Use the promo code Amy. Do it now. 800-489-0201 or online at MyPillow.com. Promo code Amy.
I've been taking it, and I'm actually feeling better. I know that I'm not coughing anymore, and I was coughing all the time.
I notice my body feels better.
I have diabetes. I had my blood work done, and I had really good numbers.
I want to thank you for your product and all that. It's been great.
I got my kids taking them now. Got my parents taking them. My brothers, my best friends. Got everybody on them.
I love the product, and I love Dr. Howard. I trust him. I feel safe. I think his product is superb. I'm going to continue with it.
Get started early on your New Year's resolution with our best price of the year. Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code CHICAGO.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. TLC Laser Eye Centers is now offering great prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved all-laser LASIK technology for less than what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free consultation so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Individual results may vary. Call 1-800-600-7926. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra 10% off your all-laser LASIK procedure. We've already performed over 2 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve for less than what others charge. For your free consultation, call 1-800-600-7926. 1-800-600-7926.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues now. And make sure to stay tuned to catch me, Mike Gallagher, coming up at 9, only on AM 560, The Answer.
Bring out your dead. I'm not dead. Bring out your dead. I'm not dead.
So a man wakes up after a long night of drinking in a cold place. Mm-hmm. Care to share, Dan? You've been teasing me with this story for the past few days.
Yeah.
And I need the details. I need the facts.
Well, first of all,
I need the answers.
I mean, let's just say,
yes,
any of us who hasn't been in this place cast the first stone. Okay, we've all been here. A man in Russia's Far East woke up in the morgue after having been.
Wait. Woke up in the where? The morning?
A man in Russia's Far East woke up in the morgue after having been declared dead. Before the incident, he had been drinking vodka rounds with his friends.
And let me guess, he put on Vladimir Putin cologne, the new leader #1.
It's a lady killer.
Mm-hmm.
just from the local media report here.
Yes. This is serious. I shouldn't laugh.
No, it's very serious. The local morgue was filled to its capacity. The bodies were not only on the shelves, but also on the floor of the freezer room.
Oh, my God.
And that's where our vodka-drinking friend found himself. At some point, according to police, the man woke up, failing to understand where he was. It was very dark and cold, a lot of dead bodies around. Brain a little foggy because of the alcohol. He felt some completely cold limbs, and in fear, he rushed to the door, but it was locked. Started screaming for help and pounding on the door. His calls drew the attention of the morgue's guard because they're not used to that kind of sound coming from the morgue.
Probably wondering what's going on.
Yeah.
And they need freezers in Russia? Okay.
The morgue's guard. Why do you need a guard for the morgue? What's going on in Russia with those dead bodies?
Well,
the latter guard thought he was imagining things, but he called the doctors. And opening the door, police were met by the resurrected man who, in panic, ran out of the room. And where did he go when he ran out of the room?
I hope to a Betty Ford clinic.
No, he returned to the place of the party where he found his friends still drinking and commemorating him and continued with the festivities.
Can you
I think.
Can you imagine the hangover? I mean, you have to drink because if you stop drinking, it's going to hurt so much. But his friends who are mourning his death by drinking vodka, and in he walks.
And he is now forever known as the afterlife of the party.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
What would an extra $250 a month mean to you? For some, it's a little financial breathing room. For others, it's a car payment, a home repair, or help with college tuition. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I've got some great news if you're looking to save money on your mortgage. All it takes is a simple phone call to Quicken Loans at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Folks who refinance with HARP can save an average of $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. Our home loan experts fully understand the HARP guidelines, and they'll walk you through our streamlined process. And for 6 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the second year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equalizing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
Gents, Dan Proft here. Every year you make New Year's resolutions, but do you lack the energy and motivation to tackle them? Maybe it's caused by low T. Low testosterone levels can make you feel tired and less motivated to do the things you want to accomplish. If you've been feeling like a grumpy old man lately, it's time to get your testosterone level checked at Low T Center. It's quick, easy, and with their on-site lab, you'll know your results in minutes. I did. Plus, their services are covered by most health insurance. Low T levels can make you feel tired and irritable and can raise your cholesterol and cause weight gain. Low T Center's experienced medical staff will educate you on the benefits and the risks of testosterone replacement. Low T Center even has convenient and flexible hours. So start tackling your New Year's resolutions and call Low T Center today and tell them Dan Proft sent you. That number, 630-409-4305. That number again, 630-409-4305. 4305, or you can go online to lowtcenter.com. That's lowtcenter.com.
You can get health insurance no matter what the status of your health is. This is possible through Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois with a tax-free and tax-deductible health savings account PPO plan. Hi, this is Tom Marabali, your independent representative and consumer advocate for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. I am working with a few state senators telling them that all of the Illinois government employees, which include all state, county, municipal, and city of Chicago workers, including the teacher union members, that they need these plans. Since we, the taxpayers, are paying for these expensive health insurance benefits, employees that have health savings account PPO plans could reduce the monthly premiums by approximately 40% and save hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. So call me at 630-863-3477 about my tax-free PPO health insurance plans. That's 630-863-3477, and I will give you a free monthly quote and tell you more about saving hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars with more comprehensive plans. plans.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. The Sentinel Group with principal office in Temecula, California is responsible for the content of this ad. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisements. Services may not be available in all states. Attention, if you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced a serious bleeding event, you may be entitled to cash compensation. Call 800-341-0345 now. Xarelto and Pradaxa are prescription blood thinners used to reduce the risk of blood clots and stroke. Dangerous side effects have been discovered, which have led to numerous cases of hospitalization and even death. Call 800-341-0345 now if you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and experienced internal bleeding or were hospitalized for a serious bleeding event. Don't be a silent victim. Call 800-341-0345 now to see if you may be entitled to a cash award and substantial financial compensation. Time is limited to file a claim, so call 800-341-0345 now. Lines are open 24/7. Call 800-341-0345. That's 800-341-0345. 800-341-0345.
You know, Dan, for the last 5 years, we've teamed up with Apple Vacations to take our listeners along on a trip. This year, we're heading to Los Cabos, Mexico, April 2nd through April 9th. That's Saturday to Saturday, and we'll be staying at the beautiful Secrets Puerto Los Cabos Golf and Spa Resort. Go online if you don't take my word for it. This place is well appointed. The rooms are excellent. They have all the bells and whistles, ocean views, adults only, all inclusive. You know the deal. 8 restaurants, 4 bars, 2 sparkling pools, and access to 3 miles of pristine beaches. Plus, for you golfers out there, and Dan, for you, adjacent to the resort, so you don't have to rent a car or take a cab. You can walk out of your resort onto 2 9-hole golf courses designed by Jack Nicklaus and Greg Norman. So join us in Cabo. Get more information. Book your trip by visiting 560theanswer.com, keyword escape. But just like every year, we do have a trip giveaway.
Well, and for the adventurous sort, I'm bringing my metal detector, so I'll be organizing a search party to search for buried treasure on the beach, and you want to be a part of that as well. So
While
another
wearing your
added
Speedo.
feature. Right now, when you download the AM560 The Answer mobile app, you can register for your chance to win an all-expense-paid trip to Secrets Los Cabos, Mexico with us, courtesy of Apple Vacations. Just click on the Enter to Win banner to register. Contest ends January 29th at 9 a.m.
Buena suerte. And thanks so much for listening. Our thanks to David Stripling and Cesar Perez, the executive producer. Now let's go back into the newsroom and say good morning once again to Mike Scott.
Amy and Dan, plenty of sunshine in your forecast for the day with a high of 31. WIND Chicago News Time is 9 o'clock.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony.
This president is obsessed with undermining the Constitution in general, but the Second Amendment in particular.
Marco Rubio and many other Republicans angry at President Obama's executive actions on gun control.
There are individuals who are not, major merchants, but they sell guns and individually in a small-scale way. You're now not only going to burden them with having to undergo the background check, that's one thing. If they get it wrong, if somehow they miss a step along the way, they're facing imprisonment.
Other presidential candidates, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and Chris Christie, have said they'd repeal the actions. Fox's John Decker details all these live from the White House.
The president's executive order will have the effect.
Let's do Trump. Yeah.
He's a foreign policy
He's
advisor?
national co-chairman. And policy advisor to the Trump campaign. Just national co-chairman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, stand by. Stand by. Mike, check. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump was the nominee, could he not? I'll do it again,
Yep.
sorry.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump was the Republican nominee, could he unite the party? We'll ask Trump's national campaign chairman.
He has a security advisor? No.
No, national campaign chairman. Well,
Is it a national campaign chair or is it a national campaign?
National co-chairman and policy advisor.
Policy advisor.
Well, it's just.
Let's start all over. I'm a train wreck. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you. No, no problem. Thank you. Thanks. National. Yeah. So let's just do. I'll just do that again, but we'll ask his national campaign chairman. Just leave it there.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump.
Let's try it again. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump were the Republican nominee, could he unite the party? We'll ask Trump national campaign co-chairman tomorrow. Not tomorrow.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. When the show starts again,
Yeah, exactly.
24 hours.
Right.
Yeah. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump were the Republican nominee, could he unite the party? We'll ask his camp. God bless it.
Do you want me to say we'll ask his national campaign advisor?
National campaign chairman. National campaign chairman.
All right, you got this.
All right.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump were the Republican nominee, could he unite the... God bless it.
All right,
my
we got
synapses
this.
are misfiring.
All right.
All right.
Somebody opened your mail and you're all...
And right, exactly. Yeah.
Never got that in 6 years or never understood that. It's very intrusive.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that was being recorded.
Yes.
Here we go.
That's
Ready?
the tease.
Why do they open our mail?
Right. They're watching us. Help.
They're spying.
All right.
Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If Trump were the Republican nominee, could he unite the party? We'll ask his national campaign chairman.
Yay! We're back at 5 a.m. 560. The Answer.
Nailed it. We nailed it. Cut. Print.
We have a. I have a contact for the NRA. One of their national.
Chicago's.
People.
Yeah.
She might be able to connect us to Wayne LaPierre. It'd be a shot.
Yeah.
So we'll try.
And
I think not them, Gun Owners of America.
Yeah, I think Larry Pratt is still the president of Gun Owners of America, but you can check that.
All right. Here's the whole Larry Rogers thing. Tomorrow's her funeral, so it'd be timely because she's getting buried after the show.
Yeah.
Maybe 4:45.
We already talked about it, though.
Oh, we talked about it for 2 seconds. We don't know the nitty gritty, and he'll always give us something about the officer who shot her.
Yeah,
what they're asking for, inside info, and then you can go off on him on his.
Well, but there's just nothing there. I mean, it's everybody knows it was an accidental shooting.
Why haven't they already settled? And he can.
Well, because it was a week ago. Well, I mean, it takes time, but I'm sure they're.
I think
they're
getting
talking
buried tomorrow, and I think it's a story because he hasn't gone on any other radio stations, and he gave a quick blurb.
Nobody cares.
No, it's because the daughter was crying so hard that he got lost in the.
Nobody cares about a wrongful death case that everybody knows is going to settle for some substantial amount of money.
How much are they asking for? How much are they willing to settle for? What do they want to have happen to the officer? Do they want him prosecuted? Do they want him put behind bars? Miscarriage of justice?
Oh, yeah, okay. This is turning into Stone Phillips. Yeah. You're gonna Jane Pauly him? You're gonna have the exploding car? Come on.
No. Well, what about 445?
I guess for 45.
He can do it. I'm sure he can.
Yeah.
So was he really apologetic today?
Yeah, he sounds like he'll pretty much whatever time we'll tell him, he'll join us.
Could do him early.
Just do him at a 45. I don't care.
All right. And what about Carol? No.
No.
All right. What about my CPS guy?
What CPS guy?
The Inspector General. Residency fraud.